All right, welcome to Module 1 of the E5 Camp Masterclass. This is part 1 of a 2-part breakdown of the examination stage. Now, this is one of the most critical parts of the entire E5 methodology, because here you're going to learn how to uncover all of the gold, all of the nuggets, all the information that you need to be able to craft a winning marketing message by examining 3 things. You're going to learn how to examine your competitors, you're going to learn how to examine your prospects, and you're going to learn how to examine your product. And together, you're going to understand the entire process for uncovering all of those conversion nuggets that you need and that you're going to use to engineer your winning campaign. So with that, go ahead and get started with lesson number 1. In this lesson, we're going to talk about the second step of the examination stage of the E5 Camp framework. We're going to talk about conducting the competitor analysis. Now, in the last lesson, we talked about analyzing your prospects using the web analysis, demographic profile, behavior profile, etc. This is all about analyzing your competitors from a marketing perspective. Now, in this context, I'm not talking about competitive analysis to uncover your competitors' traffic sources or the different steps or stages in their marketing funnel. I'm talking about analyzing your competitors from a pure marketing perspective. We want to understand how they're positioning their product, how they're presenting their product, what it is that they're offering, etc. Now, in this context, at this stage, what we're really looking for is 2 things. 1, we're looking to see what it is that your competitors are doing so we know what not to do. In other words, we're looking to see the positioning statements, the claims, the benefits, the mechanisms, all the things that I'm going to show you in just a second that they're doing and using and conveying, because we don't want to do and convey and use the same thing. We want to be able to come at your market from a different angle, right, with a different perspective, a different hook, a different promise, etc. In order to do that, we need to know what it is that your competitors are doing. The second reason why we are doing this analysis is because we want to look for gaps in the marketplace. We want to see where your competitors are missing the mark, so to speak. What is it that they're not giving? What is it that they're not touching on? What is it that they're not offering that we can come along and fill in that gap with our marketing? And we're going to do this with what I call the 11-point competitor analysis. Now, you want to use this analysis with the top 5 to 7 direct response competitors in your marketplace. Now, there are 2 things that I want to point out here that are very important. Number 1, this is direct response competitors. That's competitors that are using direct response marketing. We're not looking to analyze the competitors that are using brand, institutional, name recognition marketing. We're only looking to do this analysis with direct response competitors that are using direct response marketing. Now, you might not have 5 to 7 competitors depending on your market. You might only have 2, or you might have 3, or you might have none. If you have none, then you don't need to do this analysis and you can skip this. But at the most, we only want to analyze the top 5 to 7. That's 5 to 7 in terms of popularity in your marketplace. The second thing that I want you to understand is that when I'm talking about competitors, I'm not only talking about the individuals that sell or market the same type of product or service that you do. I'm talking about anybody that your prospects could see as a potential alternative to your product or service. For example, what I mean by that is that if a massage therapist was marketing their services for the alleviation of low back pain, well, there are a lot of other competitors besides just other massage therapists, right? Chiropractors, physical therapists, over-the-counter painkillers, over-the-counter creams, surgery, home inversion tables, and so on. Those are all competitors because remember, prospects aren't looking for products or services. Prospects are looking for a result. They're looking for an outcome. And if prospects can perceive or view over-the-counter painkillers, an inversion table, physical therapy as a potential way of alleviating back pain, that is considered a competitor. So again, you're looking for the top 5 to 7 competitors as seen by your prospects that are using direct response. And for the top 5 to 7, you're going to fill in the competitor analysis worksheet based on these 11 points. The first point is the hook. What is the hook or the angle? Now, for right now, at this stage, we're just in stage 1, right? We're just in the examination stage. You don't need to do anything with this information right now. I'm going to show you how in a later module, when we get to the engineering stage, we're going to come back to this competitor analysis and then use the information that you collect and document here to construct a high converting marketing message. For right now, what you want to document for the top 5 to 7 direct response competitors is what is the hook or the angle that they're using to get the market's attention. What's the hook or angle or idea that they're using in their headline? What's the main hook or idea or angle that they're hanging their product on, so to speak? Next is, what is their primary marketing promise, right? What is the main promise that they are making to prospects about their product or service, right? Does it have to do with speed? Does it have to do with efficiency? Does it have to do with ease? Does it have to do with results? What is the primary marketing promise that each competitor is making? Now, typically for the savvy direct response marketer, really the average direct response marketer, you can usually identify the primary marketing promise in the headline. If not, you want to look for the primary benefit statement that each competitor is making. Again, you don't need to worry about doing anything with this. You just want to look at what is the primary promise that these competitors are making. Next is what I typically refer to as the unique mechanism. You're going to hear me talk about the unique mechanism at great lengths later on, again, when we get into the engineering modules. But for right now, the delivery mechanism in this context is what is the piece or part or component or aspect of your competitor's product or service that is responsible for delivering the promise. Now, lots of your competitors might not focus on a delivery mechanism. What do I mean by a delivery mechanism? I mean, if they're selling a fat-burning supplement, for example, are they focusing on a particular nutrient or a particular herb in there? If they're selling a software, is there a particular feature of the software that a special technology, a special algorithm that they are focusing on, that they're saying that algorithm or that nutrient or this therapy method is what will deliver X, is what will deliver the promise. So what you're looking for is you're looking for any evidence of a delivery mechanism. What is the one feature, the one aspect, the one piece, part, component of their product or service that they are saying is ultimately, chiefly responsible for delivering and fulfilling on the promise. Next is what's called a unique selling proposition. And let me just take a step back and say this. Some of your competitors might be missing half of these things. Some of your competitors might be missing the majority of these things. And some of your competitors might have most of these things. That's okay. We're not trying to fill in every single block or every single section in this worksheet. You're only looking for what competitors have. So if one of your competitors only has 1 or 2 of these and is missing everything else, that's okay. You're just trying to document in reality what competitors are doing. And if they're missing components, so be it. That's okay. It makes our job that much easier. So many of your competitors may not have a unique selling proposition. A unique selling proposition is simply a unique benefit that they are saying their product or service is the only one to deliver, right? It's a unique benefit that they are delivering that no other product or service in their category, as they're claiming, delivers that benefit. And here's the key. I don't want you to look for the unique selling proposition. In other words, I don't want you to examine their marketing and try to come up with what is their unique selling proposition. What you're looking for is them stating the unique selling proposition. So you may come across some marketers, some companies that over time you become very good at picking out what could be their unique selling proposition. But what we're looking for here is what are they claiming, if at all, is a unique benefit that you can only get from them. Next, what are the general marketing claims that they are making about their product or service? Again, are they claiming that it works quickly? Are they claiming that it's easy to use? Are they claiming that it's efficient? Are they claiming that it's a savings, that it's cheap? Are they claiming that it's elite? Are they claiming that it comes with massive support? What are the different marketing claims that they are making? Now, some of your competitors might make 5, 6, 7 claims. That's okay. Write them all down on the worksheet. Next, I want you to note the proof points that your competitors are using. What are the proof points? What proof are they offering for the claims that they're making? What proof are they offering for their primary marketing promise, right? Are they offering proof? Is their only proof testimonials or case studies? Are they offering endorsements? Are they showing statistics? Are they showing screenshots? What are the different proof points that they are using? Next are the benefit statements. And these are the benefit statements. And this is somewhat of an extension of the general marketing claims, but benefit statement claims are really, the general marketing claims are more claims about the product or service. They're typically claims associated with features, claims associated with facts about the product or service, whereas benefit statements are more focused on what those claims mean for prospects, meaning that they'll save time, that they'll enjoy it, that they'll be able to sleep later, that they'll wake up with less back pain, that they'll have a better relationship with their spouse or their partner. What are the different benefit statements that these competitors are making as it relates to their product or service? Next, you want to note the deliverables. These are the features. This is really what comes with their offer, what comes with their main offer. If it is an information marketer, for example, are they giving videos? Are they giving audios? Are they giving PDFs? Are they giving cheat sheets? Are they giving worksheets? Are they giving an action guide? Are they giving software? Are they giving DVDs? Are they giving CDs? Is there anything in the mail? What are the actual deliverables of the offer? This is everything that is being delivered to the prospect. Then you want to note the price and terms. Price is exactly that. Are they selling high? Are they selling low? What's the price point? And what are the terms? And terms are incredibly important for you to note. Terms are, is it a hard offer or a soft offer? Meaning, is it pay now and then you get the product? Is it get the product now and pay later? Is it a payment plan? Is it monthly? Is it lifetime? What are the terms? Next are the bonuses and premiums. What are the bonuses and premiums that they're offering? How many bonuses and premiums are they offering? Are they offering digital premiums? Are they offering physical premiums? What are the premiums actually addressing? Meaning, I want you to understand what's the value in these premiums. What are they? What are they addressing? Are they addressing an additional problem that the prospect might have? Are they addressing the same problem that the core product has? Are they overcoming a potential objection that the prospect might have? What are the additional premiums and bonuses that are being offered? Again, if you don't fully understand the strategy behind any of these, that's okay. That's not what this is for. This is simply to document this information, and we're going to come back and use this later on when we go through the engineering stage. And then finally, the last point of the competitor analysis is risk reversal. Do they offer a guarantee? Do they offer an unconditional guarantee? Is it a conditional guarantee? Is it a 2-part guarantee? Is it a 30-day guarantee? Is it a 100% money back guarantee? What is the risk reversal? Now, I want you to understand that's it, right? This is the 11-point competitor analysis that you're going to do on the top 5 to 7 direct response competitors. The value of this, once again, is us being able to see what they're doing, what they're not doing, what they're saying, what they're not saying, what they're offering, and what they're not offering, so that one, we can differentiate your message to get attention, to create engagement, to stand out in the marketplace, right? By being different and unique and fresh, and also so that we can look for gaps in terms of deliverables. Are they missing a deliverable? Are they not offering bonuses and premiums that address a particular objection that we're going to address? Are they offering as a whole a weak risk reversal? We're going to use all of this information later on when we construct a superior and irresistible offer for your product or for your service, for your marketing funnel. And so with that, you want to go ahead and you want to begin to do your competitor analysis for the top 5 to 7 direct response competitors, and then continue on to lesson number 3. All right, in this lesson, we're going to get started with the first E of the E5 camp framework. Now, the first E stands for examination. And this is all about you diving in deep into the 3 key categories of your market. That is your prospects, your product, and your competitors. And this is all about gaining a deep and intimate understanding of who you're talking to, who you're competing with, and ultimately what you're going to be offering to the marketplace. Now, in this lesson, we're going to dive in and talk about conducting the prospect analysis. And this is one of the most critical, the most essential tools in this entire module, in the entire examination stage. And that's because as a marketer, there is nothing more important than you being deeply in tune, intimately in tune with who your audience is, with who your prospect is, with how they think, with how they feel, with how they act, with their buying history, etc. The more you know about your prospect, the more you understand about your prospect, the more you're able to step into your prospect's shoes and empathize with where they're at right now, the better the marketer you will be, the more effective your marketing message will be, because your entire marketing message stems first and foremost from who you are talking to. You already understand from the introductory session that understanding the psychology of your audience is essential. It is a critical part of you being able to craft a high converting marketing funnel message. And so this is one of the most important parts of the examination stage. Now, the whole purpose of this analysis is so that you can really crawl inside the head of your prospect and see the world from their view, see the world from their perspective. It's so that you can walk a mile in their shoes, so that you can feel what they feel, so that you can see what they see, so that you can understand the world from their perspective. It begins with a simple and basic demographic profile. Now, with a demographic profile, we're not looking for exactness. What we're looking for is an overview of who it is that you are talking to. This is not about being scientifically accurate and pinpointing. This is you getting a general understanding of what is the age range of your audience. What is the breakdown in terms of gender, ethnicity, job, income, location, marital status, education level, political affiliations, and so on. Again, we're not looking for an exact science here. We're looking to understand, does your audience sway more to older? Are they middle-aged? Are they younger? Are you talking to millennials? Are you talking to baby boomers? Do you have more women in your market or more men? Do you have individuals that are primarily married, or are they primarily single? Are you talking to individuals that, for the most part, they went to college or they don't have a college degree? Who is it that you are talking to? The value of this, as you're going to see later on when we get to the engineering stage, is that this allows us to talk in their language. It allows us to make references to things, to television shows, to movies, to books, to experiences that resonates with them, that they can relate to, right? There's no value in talking about children if you're talking to a market that is primarily single or young, right? There's no value in talking about race cars or toys that men love if you're talking to a market that is primarily women. Now, I personally got to experience this because I spent many years in two almost antithetical, completely opposite markets. I spent time working with massage therapists and I spent time working with chiropractors. Massage therapists was a mainly female-dominated market. Chiropractors a mainly male-dominated market. And the type of communications, the way we had to communicate, the type of stories that we told, the references that we made, the emotional language that we used had to vary significantly in those two markets because of the demographic profile, because of the demographic breakdown. Again, you don't have to be exact. You want a basic understanding of who it is that you're talking to. Today, there are a number of different free tools that you can use. For example, one of the better free tools, if you are on Facebook, if you have a Facebook page for your business, if you're doing any kind of advertising already on Facebook, is Facebook Insights. You can see, and this is all these tools that I'm going to show you are free. This is an example of Facebook Insights giving a breakdown of gender as well as giving a breakdown of age. In this example, you can see that the majority of the market is 35 and older, right? So we're not talking to teens. We're not talking to individuals in their early 20s. We're primarily talking to individuals that are 35 to 54. That makes up 70% of this market in this particular example. And we're talking about a market that's relatively split almost evenly between men and women, a little bit more skewed in terms of female. You can also see from Facebook Insights things like household income, home ownership, household size, right? Home market value. The value of knowing home ownership is in references that you can make or shouldn't make throughout your marketing message. And you can see, of course, things like other categories that your market favors or likes. You can also get demographic information from Google Analytics. Again, another free tool. In this case, you could see in this particular example that once again, we're looking at a market that is more, in this case, more 25 to 44, almost 25 to 54. So again, not extremely young, also not extremely old. But in this case, in this one example, look at what the value of this demographic information shows us. It shows us in this example that this market is made up of primarily men. Right? That there is almost 80% of this market, of this audience is male. That gives us the ability to customize our message more for men, focus more on male-dominated language, male-dominated imagery, male-focused desires and wants and fears, etc., because we know that, again, we know the gender breakdown of this particular demographic profile. You can also see with Google AdWords, other things like categories that they like, other interests, if you will. And even through the AdWords, the Google AdWords planner for free, you can also get a breakdown of some simple demographics, gender, age, etc., as well as, same thing, just like from Facebook, you can get insights into other interests that they have. And so on. You could do the same thing with another tool called SimilarWeb. SimilarWeb doesn't really give you the extensive demographic breakdown that Facebook Insights does, but SimilarWeb will show you some other things, including additional interests that your market has. This, again, comes in handy because it gives us some fodder for things that we can talk about and allude to and reference throughout our marketing funnel that we know will resonate with the audience. This is another tool that you can look into. They have a free version and then a paid version. This is userreport.com. You could see, again, gender, age, education, occupation, and income. Look here, you could see in this particular example, you can see that just looking at this, right, that the majority are men, right? Not by a huge amount, but the majority are men. You could also see that the majority of this particular market, or the biggest group, is college educated, that they have a job, right, that they're currently employed. And then it got cut off, but you can see the average income range. Again, telling you more about the market so we know how to best kind of customize and mold our message. And then, of course, inside of ConversionFly, which is a tool that you should be using, you can get also information on your buyers, including age and job title and education and locale and even things like social media username and whatnot. Now, in addition to a simple demographic profile, a simple overview of your market, you want an understanding of what we refer to as behavioral profile. And the behavior profile is really all about just that. It's things like, what are their prior purchases? What is the one or two or three things that the majority of folks in your market, or lots of folks in your market, purchase? Who are the experts? If you're in the information marketing or information publishing business, who are the other experts that your market follows, that your market takes advice from? Who has the most popular website? Who has the most popular blog? Who has the most popular YouTube channel in your market? What are the popular movie or television shows? Now, some of these things might not apply. Your market might be so diverse, it might not be that narrow or focused if you're in more of a commercial market, like if you're in, if you market something for gardening or something for planting flowers or something like that, or weight loss, for example. But if you're in a more focused market, a more narrow niche, right? There may be certain movies or television shows that are among the favorites of your market. You can see a lot of this stuff if it's talked about in various trade journals or magazines for the market, on various Facebook pages associated with or Facebook groups associated with the market, forums, etc. Same for favorite periodicals and favorite books. For example, in the entrepreneurial space or in the marketing space, there are certain books that are often talked about, that are referenced. For example, Dr. Robert Cialdini's book, Influence, is one of the more popular books. A book like Breakthrough Advertising is talked about often. One of the experts that's followed is Dan Kennedy, is Jay Abraham. And so there are a variety of different behaviors that we want to understand. Again, we're not looking for scientific specifics. We're just looking for a general understanding of who you are talking to. And the thing that I really want you to understand is that it's okay if you can't answer all these. It's okay if you can't identify favorite television shows or favorite movies or prior purchases. That's okay. We're just right now with the behavioral profile and the demographic profile, just trying to get a basic understanding of who you are talking to. Next, you want to move into what is called the prospect web analysis. And if there was one kind of analysis, one worksheet, one tool that I had to narrow down to, if there was only one tool that I could give you to understand your prospect, understand who you're talking to, this would be it. One of the most valuable tools in your toolbox. A web analysis consists of three components. The first is wants and desires. This is all about you knowing, what does your prospect deeply want or believe they need, right? This is about, what does your prospect deeply want? The outcome, the transformation, the result, the change, right? It's you understanding what your prospect wants, right? And so let's first and foremost talk about the difference between wants and needs, because there's a tremendous difference between wants and needs. First and foremost, wants are more compelling than needs. Marketing is all about wants. It's all about desires. It's all about you, really, in essence, marketing what it is that your market wants, and then ultimately delivering what it is that they need. A perfect example of this is in the world of personal training, fitness training, for example. I spent a number of years, many moons ago, in a prior life in that market. And I can tell you that what the majority of individuals wanted, that were interested in getting in shape and losing weight and getting toned and getting fit and getting stronger, was just that, right? They wanted a fast, easy, enjoyable way to build muscle, to get stronger, to look fit. They wanted to be able to eat a variety of different foods, not really restrict themselves much, and they wanted the weight to come off, right? And so when we were teaching trainers how to present their services, we taught them how to present their services in the light of what is it that the prospects wanted. But we knew that ultimately what we were going to have to deliver for prospects was a nutritional program that was going to be somewhat restrictive, an intense weight training program, an intense cardiovascular program, right? So you have to understand what it is that your market wants. You're not selling needs. You're not selling them based on what they need. You're selling them, you're marketing to them based on what they want. And wants are a lot more compelling and a lot more desirable to your market than simply the fulfilling of needs. Now, remember, we talked about in the introductory training session that we're not creating desire. You don't create desire. You're simply channeling your prospects' existing desire. The existing desire that they have for to lose weight, the existing desire that they have to be smarter, the existing desire that they have to speak another language, whatever it may be. What is it that they want? What is it that they crave? What is it that they lust after? What is it that they truly want at their core? Because our aim as marketers is to craft a message that shows your prospects how your product or service can give them what they desire. We're taking their desire and we're turning it into ultimately demand for your product or service. And you're going to learn how to do that in the later module when we go through the engineering stage. Remember, like I shared with you earlier, customers don't want products. They don't buy vitamin E because they want vitamin E or because they want soft gels or tablets. They don't buy protein powder because they want powder, because they want protein. They want the result. They want the benefit. They want the outcome that they believe that they will get from that product or service. And so in this context, it's important for you to understand, what is that outcome? If you had to describe on paper what is the ideal outcome that your prospect desires, what is that perfect transformation in their mind? What are they looking to experience? What would that be? That's what we're talking about here. Now, in line with this, you need to understand that prospects, that people in general, are driven by deeper emotional benefits. There are deeper emotional needs that we have as individuals that sometimes are unspoken, that are not necessarily surface level benefits or emotions that we talk about, but we are driven by deeper emotional benefits when making investments and purchasing decisions. For example, this is a list of just a variety of different deeper unspoken desires, right? The desire to be part of an elite club, the desire to get admiration from others, the desire to be appealing, sexually appealing to the opposite gender, right? The desire for more pride, more, a boost in ego, self-esteem, right? There are lots of individuals that desire, they don't talk about it out loud, but they want to one-up their brother-in-law. They want to one-up their neighbor. They want to prove to their father, to their uncle, or to their spouse that they've got the chops, that they can do it. Right? Maybe an unspoken desire. They want to make a statement, right? They want to act in line with their self-image, right? They want to boost self-confidence, maybe even get revenge, right? And so you want to begin to think about with your market, what are some of the deeper unspoken desires that your product can fulfill, right? These are not necessarily desires that your prospect are going to tell you about if you ask them, if you surveyed them, right? This isn't about them putting, one-upmanship on a survey, but this is about you digging in deeper. You're going to understand how to do this in just a little bit, but you getting to the root of their deeper desires that truly push individuals to buy, if not on a subconscious, if not on a conscious level, certainly on a subconscious level. One of the ways to think about this is from Vic Schwab. And this is a great book that you should buy. This is a book that I recommend every marketer read every year. It's an inexpensive book. It's called How to Write a Good Advertisement by Victor Schwab. And Victor Schwab really boils this idea of desires and deeper desires and really kind of unspoken common desires. He breaks it down like this. There are things that people want to gain. There are things that people want to be. There are things that people want to do. There are things that people want to save. And there are things that people want to avoid. For example, People want to gain health and time and money and popularity and an improved appearance, comfort, leisure, pride of accomplishment, advancement, increased enjoyment, self-confidence, personal prestige. See, the reason why I'm sharing this with you, the reason why this is so important for you as a marketer is because you want to begin to look at your audience and you want to begin to understand which of these can apply or does apply to your market as it relates to the product or service that we're going to ultimately design your marketing funnel for. How many of these are appropriate for the product or service that you're ultimately going to offer? And you need to think beyond simply superficial benefits. Right? An individual may want to learn how to grow a flower garden because they enjoy gardening, for example, and they enjoy having, a nice garden on their property. But that could also play a role in their desire to stand out in the community, right? To get praise from their neighbors, right? Because it's prestigious. They might want to have a feeling of pride of accomplishment, right? You have to start to look at these deeper desires and see which ones can be applied to your prospects as it relates to your product. Let's keep going. People want to be good parents. Sociable, hospitable, up-to-date, creative, proud of their possessions, influential over others, gregarious, efficient, first in things, right? People feel good when they're the first to get X, when they're the first to experience X, or when they are recognized as an authority, when they're recognized as intelligent, when they're recognized as an expert, for example. People want to express their personalities. They want to resist domination by others. They want to satisfy their curiosity, emulate the admirable, appreciate beauty, acquire or collect things. That should be win others' affections, improve themselves generally. And of course, people want to save time, money, work, discomfort, worry, doubts, risks, personal embarrassment. See, this is another great list. This is another great list for you to really understand. Because even if you were selling or marketing a product on how to grow a beautiful flower garden, how can you demonstrate that your product or service will save them time? How can you demonstrate that your product or service will save them money? How can you demonstrate that your product or service will save them work and effort? How can you show them how your product or service will save them discomfort, worry, right? How can you show them that your offer eliminates risk? How can you show them that your offer will help them avoid personal embarrassment? See, that's what I mean when I say that there are deeper desires, more than just these superficial desires of your prospect to have a nice garden, to learn how to grow flowers, or just the superficial desire for weight loss, or the superficial desire for, speaking another language. There are deeper desires, and you need to start to look at this list and pick out the deeper desires that can apply to your market as it relates to your product or service. And here is a longer list for you. Now let's take this one step further so that you can begin to understand how this actually plays a role in your marketing, right? And I refer to this as understanding the secret of secret desires. You might have an individual, or you might have a product or service that helps individuals earn more money, or launch a business, or win with stocks. But the secret desire underneath all of that is the individual wants to feel successful, right? They want to earn more money because they want to feel successful. They want to launch a business and have a successful business because they want to feel successful. They want to do well with their investments, the stock market, because they want to feel successful. So you have to understand, and this is one of those things for you to always keep in the back of your mind when you're crafting any kind of marketing campaign or funnel. And that is that lots of prospects buy not only based on feeling, but they actually buy for feelings, meaning they're investing in a stock because they want to feel more successful. They're investing in a home security system because they want to feel more secure, right? They're learning more about the stock market and investing because they want to feel more successful. Same thing with, you might have a product or service that helps individuals live healthier or live longer or have more energy, right? The secret desire is feeling less mortal, right? Feeling less mortal. How about this one? learning something, right? Learning something, mastering any kind of skill, being able to fix something that's broken. It is the secret desire of feeling independent, feeling like I can take care of it on my own, feeling like I can support myself, I can care for myself, that I don't need anybody else. Right? See, if you were if you were marketing to, let's say, single moms that needed to know how to, I don't know, how to fix a broken sink, for example, and you had a program that was all about do it yourself home, fixing for single moms, right? The underlying secret desire that is there is that desire to feel independent, that desire to feel self-sufficient, that desire to feel self-secure. The superficial benefit, right, is learning how to fix what's broken, but that deeper desire is to feel independent. This is incredibly valuable when it comes time for us to craft your marketing funnel message. Let's go through a couple of other examples. Save on purchases, right? Save money on purchases. Build a nest egg. Get passive income, right? Getting passive income from investments, whether it's real estate or, investing, having savings, building, is all about feeling more secure, feeling more stable, not having worry as it relates to the viability of your future, right? That might not be something, or likely it's not something that a prospect would put down on a survey, but it is a desire. It's a secret desire, and it's a strong desire, and it's critical for you to realize that and understand that when we're crafting your marketing message. Let's look at lose weight. I want to lose weight. I want to look younger, get stronger, right? This could be for an anti-aging program. It could be for creams, cosmetics, for treatments, for teeth whitening, certainly for all kinds of weight loss programs. It's feeling more attractive, right? How about this one? Make friends, get dates, make friends, get dates, have better sex. It's all about feeling wanted, feeling desired. Right? Again, right? Somebody might take a course or a training on interpersonal skills. What they want is they want to be desirable. They want to be desired. They want to be valued. They want to be wanted, right? That's the secret desire. There's another one. Get famous, earn praise. Here's get rewarded. This is all about, right? Get famous, right? Earn praise. It's all about feeling respected. It's all about feeling appreciated. It's all about feeling valued, right? It's not for the sake of getting praise because you want praise. It's how that praise makes you feel, right? How that praise makes you feel. Remember, prospects not only buy on emotion, not only buy on feeling, they actually buy feelings. They're buying the feeling of being respected. There's another one. Sleep better. Eliminate pain, eliminate stress. It's I just want to feel more comfortable. There's another one. Indulge desire, right? Treat yourself, have the best. It's you want to feel worth it. You want to feel worthy. It's amazing how many high-end purchases like expensive watches, expensive cars, expensive vacations are all about showing that I'm worth it. Right? Showing and having that feeling that I'm good enough, that I'm worth it, that I made it, that I'm there. This is critical that you begin to understand and look at your market and look at their desires, their wants, and start to translate these into the deeper desires that can correlate with that, the deeper desires that go with that. Now, a great exercise for you to do to really begin to kind of see a three-dimensional picture of really what your prospects want is what I call the ideal client or ideal customer exercise. And this is you imagining a customer that use your product, use your service, use your software, use your method, came in for therapy, whatever it is that you do. Think about the ideal perfect client, your greatest success story. If you had a client that was your greatest success story, what would that success story look like, right? What results did they get from working with you? Think about if right now you had a client that was your greatest success story, the perfect case study, right? Well, what results did they get from working with you, from buying from you, from learning your information, from getting your product, whatever it may be. And I want you to list out their exact results. List out their exact experience. List out what it is that they're experiencing today, what is it that they're no longer experiencing, right? What are all of the benefits that they've gained? What are all the things that they're doing today that they weren't able to do before, right? What are all the feelings that they're having today that they didn't have before? And what are the feelings that they had before that they're no longer having right now? As well, I want you to think about that ideal client, your greatest success story. And I want you to think about what other transformations, what other benefits, what other results, what other outcomes have happened in their life because of the core transformation. What I mean by that is, let's say you sell a weight loss product. It could be a supplement, it could be a diet program, whatever. And so your greatest success story is an individual that lost X number of pounds, 50 pounds. They lost, 30 inches all over. They're now in the same size clothing that they wore when they were in high school. They have abs. They have a ton of energy. They're now outgoing and gregarious. They're meeting new people. They're having a lot more fun. They're spending more time with their loved ones. Well, what are the other benefits, right? And I really just listed a whole bunch. They might have come to you for weight loss, and that might have been the chief thing that they ultimately experienced loss of weight. But because they've lost weight, they now have more self-esteem. They now are able to approach more people with confidence. They now go out more. They have met the person of their dreams. They're now able to be more involved in athletics, right? These are all secondary benefits to the core benefit. I want you to write out what would those secondary benefits look like. This is a great way for you to get an ideal picture of what it is that your prospect ultimately desires from your product or service. Now that is wants and desires from the web analysis. Now we're going to talk about emotions and feelings. So we talked about what does your prospect deeply want or believe they need. Emotions and feelings are really just about understanding, how does your prospect feel right now and how do they want to feel? How does your prospect feel right now about their situation, about the problem that they're dealing with, the problem that your product or service alleviates? How do they feel right now? Do they feel angry? Do they feel embarrassed? Do they feel frustrated? And how do they want to feel regarding their current situation, right? How do they want to feel about the problem or situation that your product or service resolves or alleviates for them? Just remember that prospects buy by feelings, right? They buy because they're angry about something. They buy because they're embarrassed about something. They buy because they feel inadequate. They buy out of guilt. They buy out of a desire to belong, right? Or greed, right? Or envy, right? You need to understand what is the core emotion, the dominant resident emotion, as my buddy Clayton Makepeace calls it, that your prospects have right now. Are they coming into your funnel angry? Are they coming into your funnel upset? Are they coming into your funnel with greed and hope, right? Are they coming into your funnel based from a position of fear or based from a position of hope? See, it's important that you understand where your prospects are at right now, because as you're going to learn when we get to the module on engineering, it's all about starting where your prospect is right now, starting with their core buying emotion right now, and understanding what they want to feel, how they want to feel after with the perfect solution. What is now and what is after? One of the tools that you want to fill out, one of the worksheets, is what I call the now and after grid. Now, the first variation, or the first version of this came from my buddy Ryan Dice. And excuse me, and this is slightly tweaked. This is all about understanding where your prospect is right now and where they want to be after. This is about you describing what is it that your prospects have now. What is the average experience that they're dealing with now? How do they view themselves, status right now? And how does that make them feel right now? And then ultimately, after, how do they want to feel? How do they want to view themselves? What is their typical daily experience? And what do they want to have? right? And so what do they have now? What is their typical daily experience as it relates to that problem? Like they have back pain right now. What is the average experience right now? It's they wake up out of bed all stiff. They can barely tie their shoes. They struggle to sit for long periods of time. Status is they feel like they are injured, debilitated, and that they're getting worse. And it makes them feel sad. It makes them feel frustrated, and it makes them feel old, right? And afterwards, they have zero pain and they feel strength in their low spine. And the average experience is they wake up in the morning pain-free, bounce out of bed with more energy than they've ever had before. And they go throughout their day never even having to think about any kind of low back pain. And they view themselves as a healthy and fit and firm 40-year-old. And because of that, they feel excited about the future. They feel empowered and they feel invigorated, right? And understand where they are now and understand where they want to feel after. As you're going to learn later on in the module on engineering, our marketing funnel, one of the core pieces is ultimately bringing your prospect from where they are now to that after picture. It's showing your prospects how, with your product or service, with your solution, they could go from where they are right now to ultimately that after picture. And so you want to go through and you want to fill that out for your market. And last for the prospect web analysis is beliefs and identifications. This is about the general beliefs, the generally held concepts that your prospects live by. You see, you have to understand that when you are crafting a marketing funnel for cold traffic to acquire new customers, you're not dealing with a blank slate. In other words, prospects are coming into your funnel with preconceived ideas, with preconceived notions, with views, with thoughts, with feelings associated with your marketplace, associated with your product, maybe associated with your company. And you need to understand where they're at right now with those beliefs. Because again, as you're going to learn in the later module on engineering, we start where your prospect is, right? If your prospect believes XYZ, you can't start your funnel by disagreeing with that, because you will immediately turn off your prospect. You will immediately show them that your message is not designed for them. And so we need to understand these generally held beliefs and concepts that your prospects live by. For example, just what are the general beliefs that they have? Are there any general beliefs associated with your prospects? Earlier, I gave you the example of how I worked with massage therapists and chiropractors. Well, one of the general beliefs that massage therapists had was related to commerce, capitalism, money, if you will. It was viewed more as a negative. They viewed salesmanship and marketing more in a negative light. They did not view themselves as entrepreneurs or business owners. They viewed themselves more as therapists, whereas chiropractors, for example, were a lot more capitalistic. They viewed themselves as entrepreneurs, health entrepreneurs, but entrepreneurs nonetheless. That's important to understand, because what resonated with massage therapists was not what resonated with chiropractors, and vice versa. What does the prospect believe about the fundamental problem or situation that they're dealing with? Do they believe that it is somebody else's fault? Do they believe that they're likely never to alleviate that problem? Do they believe that it's a rare problem? Do they believe that it is a common problem? Do they believe that it's a problem that they need special skills or special knowledge to overcome? Do they believe that it's a problem that requires a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort to resolve? What do they believe about the fundamental problem or situation that they are in? What does the prospect believe about the marketplace that you operate within? See, again, there are certain markets, certain professions, certain businesses which are viewed negatively, and certain businesses and professions and markets that are viewed more positively. For example, attorneys right? Not everybody has a positive view of attorneys. Not everybody today has a positive view of law enforcement, for example. As it relates to the online marketing community, a lot of people, a lot of general people have this view that there are a lot of charlatans in the market. And rightly so. There are a lot of charlatans in the market, but they're not coming in and viewing the marketplace as a whole with the same level of trust as, let's say, they would if they were looking for a purchase from a pharmacy or from a doctor or something like that, right? And so what are the beliefs that the prospect has about the marketplace? What are the beliefs that the prospect has about your type of product or service? Do they believe that they don't really work? Do they believe that it's hyped up? Do they believe that, they're borderline illegal? Do they believe that you have to have skills to use them? Do they believe that they're not ready for it or it's for more advanced individuals? What do they believe about your type of product? And what does your prospect believe about others selling in your marketplace? Do they believe that there are other individuals that are have more expertise, have more experience, have more knowledge? Do they believe that there are a lot of crooks in the marketplace? Do they believe that nobody else provides value or that everybody else provides value? Again, what we are looking for here is we're looking for an understanding of who is it that you are talking to. Who is this audience? What do they believe? What do they feel? What do they want? What's the ideal solution? What don't they want? What are they experiencing right now? And what do they want to experience? So you should see just by this one lesson how when you have this information, you're armed with the insight that you need to be able to craft a compelling marketing message. Without understanding who your prospect is alone, let alone your competitors, which I'm going to show you in the next lesson, and and understanding your product, right? Just understanding who your prospect is gives you the insight that you need. But without knowing who your prospect is, it's virtually impossible to create an effective marketing campaign, because again, at the root, that marketing campaign is all about showing prospects how and why your product or service is the best solution to bring them from where they're at right now to where they want to be, to bring them from how they feel right now to how they want to feel, to bring them from the pain they're in right now to the relief that they want, right? To bring them from where they are right now through the transformation to experience the life that they want. And so it's critical that you fill out these worksheets to get that deeper understanding of who your prospect is. With that being said, go on to the next lesson. In this lesson, we're going to talk about conducting the prospect awareness pyramid analysis. Now, this is also one of the most critical aspects of the examination stage, because what this analysis tells us is what do your prospects already know and think? Meaning, what are they already aware of as it relates to the problem that your particular product or service solves? What are they already aware of as it relates to the different solutions out there? What are they already aware of as it relates to the benefits of one solution over another solution? What are they already aware of as it relates to you, your product or service, your offer? This is enormously important when crafting a marketing campaign or marketing funnel, because it's necessary that we tailor your marketing message to match your segment's awareness level. Right? And so I'm going to walk you through the 5 different levels of prospect awareness. I'm going to explain to you what's happening at each of the levels, and then I'm going to show you how the level that you choose to design your marketing campaign or marketing funnel for, how it impacts the type and length of the funnel that you create, and really the difficulty of the task at hand when it comes to converting prospects at the different awareness levels into customers. Now, before I walk you through these 5 levels of prospect awareness, I want you to understand that there is no one right level. In other words, the question that I get asked all the time is the 5 levels that I'm about to walk you through and show you. I'm routinely asked, well, which level is my market at? Well, that's the wrong way of looking at it. The right way to look at it is that every market has a segment within each of the 5 levels. In other words, each market, each segment of prospects, if you will, falls into all 5 awareness levels. You could take your entire pool of prospects and distribute them amongst the different awareness levels, and you'll have individuals from your market in all of the 5 levels. The question is not which level is your market. The question is, which level of awareness are you going to design your marketing funnel for? So let me walk you through the 5 different levels, and then I'll show you how these 5 different levels impact the type of funnel that we create and the task at hand really for us. So the first level of prospect awareness is what we call completely unaware. These are your prospects that have no level of awareness whatsoever of the problem that your product or service solves, that your product or service addresses, and they have no awareness whatsoever of the need for any kind of solution. Right? So these are individuals that fall within your marketplace that have no awareness, no thought of any kind of problem. And therefore, because they don't they don't see that they have a problem, they have no need or thought or awareness of the different solutions out there. Imagine that you were a chiropractor and you were marketing and offering chiropractic care, and you were marketing and offering chiropractic care to men over the age of 60 that are retired and golf a lot, right? You're in Florida, in South Florida, where I am, and so you are marketing chiropractic care to help alleviate and prevent back pain for men over the age of 60 that golf regularly, right? Well, there are a whole bunch of men that are over the age of 60 that are retired that regularly golf 3, 4, 5 days a week in South Florida that have no awareness whatsoever of low back pain. They don't suffer with low back pain. They don't see themselves getting injured or dealing with low back pain. They don't recognize that golf is one of those sports that is the worst for low back health. And so they have no awareness whatsoever of a problem, and therefore they've got no need for any kind of low back pain solution. That's completely unaware. The next level is what we call problem aware. And here, there's only an awareness of the problem. Taking our men over the age of 60 that are golfers, this would be the man who is now dealing with low back pain. They now have low back pain, but that's the only awareness that they have. So they have no other awareness of any solutions out there, of any options for relieving their back pain, for preventing any additional back pain, for preventing of worsening of their back pain. All they have right now is an awareness of back pain. The next level up is what we call solution aware. And this is an awareness of the problem and an awareness of the various solutions available, the various options available. In this case, it's the man over the age of 60 in Florida who's a golfer who now has low back pain, and he is now aware that there are a variety of different options to help relieve that back pain, including things like chiropractic care, massage therapy, in-home treatments, creams, over-the-counter painkillers, surgery, etc. Right? So this is an individual that has an awareness level of the problem and an awareness of the various solutions that they have to choose from. One level up, we have product aware. Now, this is an awareness of the problem and an awareness of the type of solution that they want. So this is our man over the age of 60 that is dealing with low back pain, that is aware of the variety of solutions and options out there: chiropractic, massage, physical therapy, surgery, over-the-counter painkillers, creams, inversion tables, all these crazy things. But he is now interested in chiropractic care, right? Then we've got one more level up, which is most aware. And this is an awareness of the problem, awareness of the type of solution that they want, and awareness of you, what you offer, and how it meets their needs. For this level, it's all about the deal for them. Now, I want you to understand, I want you to imagine these 5 different levels And I want you to imagine how these 5 different levels would impact what an individual would be searching on Google, for example. So let's take the completely unaware individual. No awareness of the problem and therefore no awareness of the need for a solution. So this individual would typically not be searching on Google for anything related to low back pain, anything related to chiropractic or massage or any solutions, because they have no awareness whatsoever. Next level up, we've got problem aware. This is an individual that is only aware of the problem. That's all they're aware of, right? This individual may be searching on natural back pain relief or back pain relief, right? And so they're looking for what are the options. They're looking to find out, what is massage an option? Is chiropractic an option? Are painkillers an option? Is surgery an option? What are the options, right? Then we've got the next level up, solution aware, aware of the problem and aware of the various solutions, right? Now they may be asking themselves, or they may be doing searches on what is better, chiropractic or massage for low back pain? What is the downside of massage? What are the benefits of chiropractic care for low back pain? They're now exploring which of the different options that they have at their disposal is most appropriate for their needs. Then we've got the product aware, right? Awareness of the problem and the type of solution they want. Let's say now this individual is aware they've got low back pain, they've done their research, they're interested in a chiropractor chiropractic care. Now they may be doing a Google search on who is the best chiropractor in West Palm Beach, right? Best chiropractor, West Palm Beach, top chiropractor, West Palm Beach, or what should I look for in a chiropractor in the West Palm Beach area, right? So they're narrowing it down to which of the type of solution do they want to go with, right? And then, of course, most aware, the individual that is aware of their problem, they're aware that they want a chiropractor, they're aware of really what it is that you offer, how it meets their needs. Now what they want to know is, what's the deal? What's the offer? What do I get? How do I get started? How easy is it? How convenient is it? Etc. And so this is an important kind of exercise for you to think about, or an important example for you to recognize, because depending on where an individual is at would certainly impact the type of ad that we would run on Google, right? For the individual that is only at the problem aware level, if we were simply running an ad that explained how to choose the best chiropractor, that wouldn't be appropriate for the individuals that are at the problem aware level. Actually, a better way for you to look at this is in the pyramid. I put these levels into the structure of a pyramid for several reasons that I'm going to walk you through in a second. But what I want you to understand is that when you design a funnel, when you design a marketing campaign for, let's say, most aware, that is only appropriate for the most aware prospects. It will not work. It does not apply for any prospects at any lower level. If you designed a marketing campaign for product aware, that will be effective for product aware prospects as well as most aware. Meaning, when you design a marketing funnel for a level, it only works for the prospects at that level or at any level above. So if you designed a marketing campaign for solution aware, that will be effective for prospects that are solution aware, product aware, and most aware, but it will not be effective for problem aware or completely unaware, right? So the higher up on the pyramid you go, the smaller your universe becomes. When you design a marketing funnel for the completely unaware segment, which we're going to talk about during the engineering stage, you have the biggest audience. You have the biggest audience for 2 reasons. One, because there are a lot more people that are completely unaware than that are most aware, or just product aware, or solution aware, or problem aware, right? So you have the most amount of people in completely unaware, but also a marketing funnel that is designed for completely unaware applies to completely unaware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, and most aware. In other words, a funnel designed for a level of prospect awareness applies only to that level and the levels above it, not the levels below it. So the question that I get all the time is, well, Todd, if designing a marketing funnel for completely unaware gives me the biggest universe of prospects, gives me the biggest opportunity for sales, right? The largest universe to tap into, why wouldn't I just always design my funnels for completely unaware? Well, you may, but you need to be aware of two things. One, the lower on the prospect awareness pyramid you go, the harder it is, the more difficult it is. The easiest prospects to convert are most aware. The most difficult prospects to convert are completely unaware. The higher on the pyramid you go, the easier it becomes. The lower on the pyramid you go, the harder it becomes. The second reason is that the lower on the pyramid you go, the longer your funnel will be. Meaning that, right, as their awareness level increases, your marketing funnel length decreases. There is an inverse relationship between their level of awareness and funnel length. The more aware they are, the higher up on the pyramid you go, the shorter your funnel will be. The lower in terms of awareness you go, the lower on the pyramid you go, the longer your funnel will be. So it's important for you to recognize that while you've got the biggest opportunity on with the completely unaware segment of prospects, right? While you've got the biggest opportunity, the biggest universe, and while a funnel at that level applies to every funnel above it or every awareness level above it, it is most difficult to convert those prospects and will require a longer funnel. So it's just a matter of you being aware of which level of awareness you want to target. Again, you have prospects that are most aware if you've been in business, if you've made an offer to your marketplace before, right? If you have customers especially typically fall at the most aware level, right? But you'll have individuals in your market that are completely unaware of any need, of any problem, of any desire for a solution. Then you'll have prospects that are problem aware. Then you'll have prospects that are solution aware. Then you'll have prospects that are product aware, right? It's not a matter of where on this pyramid your market falls. It's a matter of you selecting which level of awareness you are going to engineer your funnel for. If you choose to engineer a funnel for completely unaware because you want the biggest universe, the biggest opportunity, the biggest pool to choose from, you just need to be aware that it is the most difficult prospect to convert and therefore requires the longest funnel. The higher up on the pyramid you go, the easier it is to convert, the smaller or the shorter the funnel, but the smaller the universe, the smaller the pool, and therefore the smallest opportunity or the smaller the opportunity you have. So all you need to do is take out your prospect awareness pyramid worksheet and circle the segment of your market that you will be targeting with your funnel, and then continue on to lesson number 6. In this lesson, we're going to talk about engineering the perfect customer generating product. Now, this is for you if you're an information marketer or an information publisher. If you are an e-commerce owner, you can skip this lesson. Now, it's important for you to understand as an information marketer, an information publisher, that for the A-player marketer, there is no separation in thinking, in approach between content and marketing. Now, in this context, when I'm talking about content, I'm not only talking about content published on your blog or content distributed on various sites like YouTube and whatnot. I'm also talking about content within your products. See, while the average marketer, when they sit down to create a product, they immediately go into content creation mode, right? They exit marketing mode, they leave aside their marketing mindset, and they immediately go into content creation thinking, content creation mode. And when they approach the creation of content or the creation of a product, an info product, for example, they think solely as a content provider, and they leave aside marketing. Whereas for the A player, there is no separation. There is never a separation in thinking between content and marketing. To the A player, they are always one and the same. Content is always created with an aim. Certainly content, when you are creating content for a blog or for a YouTube video or a Facebook Live, whatever it may be, of course, you're always thinking about what is the ultimate objective of this piece of content. Ultimately, the objective is typically to move a prospect further down the buying cycle or further through the buying cycle. Ultimately, every piece of content that you create and publish is designed to move a prospect one step closer to buying. Well, the reality is that even when you're creating the content for your products, you should always be maintaining a marketer's mindset, because one piece of content should always be linked to the next piece of content. One product should always be linked to the next product that will allow you to deliver more value, that will allow you to help the prospect even more, bring them one step closer to the ultimate goal. And so when you're thinking about product creation, I really want you to think as not just as a marketer, but I want you to think of strategic marketing-based product creation. Specifically, what we're going to talk about in this lesson is how do you apply this strategic marketing-based mindset to the creation of front-end products. Now, one very important point that I want to stress to you before I go through this is that I'm not talking about withholding information. I'm not talking about leaving gold nuggets out. I'm not talking about you not putting together a stellar product to try to sell somebody else something else. That's not what I'm talking about at all. When you design any product, especially a front-end product, you need to deliver the goods. Remember, when it comes to a front-end product, which is a product for a brand new customer, their experience with the product, the value that they get, whether you fulfilled on your promises or not, is going to ultimately determine whether they purchase from you again, whether they purchase a second product or a third product from you, whether they trust you, whether they want to continue to invest in your information, your advice, your guidance. And so especially when it comes to the creation of a front-end product, you need to deliver the goods. You should never be thinking about not meeting their expectations. Of course, you should be thinking about how can I create this product to exceed their expectations based on the promises that I made in the marketing. With that being said, let's very quickly run through the objectives of a front-end product, and then I'm going to share with you how you can build, strategically design, and engineer your front-end product to better lead your prospects to your back end, to the second transaction, to the third transaction, while still giving them a stellar experience. So the first objective of any and all front-end products, of course, is to fulfill on the product hook and promise. Whatever it is that you promised that they would get, that they would experience, that they would see, that they would learn, you need to fulfill on that. Like I said, the worst thing that you can do is have unmet promises. That will kill the profitability of your business. It will kill any likelihood of a long-term relationship that you're expecting to have with that new customer. So it needs to fulfill on the hook and the promise. Like I said, it needs to deliver value with stellar content. So you cannot hold anything back. You've got to give the best of the best of the best that you've got, that you have to offer. And in many cases, you should be striving to give more than what it is that you promised. You want to blow them away. Remember, right? We talked about this in the introductory training session to the entire E5 Camp Masterclass. This idea that the front end is all about customer acquisition. The profit in your business is on the back end. And so we have to make sure that we deliver on the front end if we have any chance of having a back end with a new customer. And so you want to over deliver value, give more than what you've promised, give more than what it is that you expect, that you promise, that they expect, which brings us to the next point. You want to exceed their expectations. You want to look for opportunities to provide more, provide extras, provide unadvertised bonuses, which we're going to be talking about much later on in this masterclass. Again, you need to exceed their expectations, not just meet them, and certainly not fall short of those expectations. You also want to provide a stellar buying experience. That means that if you say something is going to be delivered instantly, deliver it instantly. As well, it's why I'm not a big fan of putting people through multiple add-on offers, multiple upsells, multiple downsells, because it's an uncomfortable experience for the new customer. I don't want to start a new customer relationship with somebody that I want to have a long-term relationship with, by putting them through an uncomfortable set of stages, set of offers. I don't want to scream in their face that all I'm interested in is getting every last dime or dollar out of their pocket. And so you've got to think through the buying experience. This is what they go through to complete the transaction. What happens after the transaction? What is the follow-up like? How clear are the steps that they need to take next? How easy it is for them to get, how easy is it for them to get access to the product? What extras do you give to them? What is even the download page or the product access page or site look like, feel like? Again, you want to give them a stellar buying experience. You also want to provide a stellar, what I call, consumption experience. And that means, and we're going to talk about this later on in a little bit of extra training as part of the E5 masterclass, but you want to follow up with your customers to aid in their consumption. You want to make consumption as easy as possible. It's why when it comes to the creation of information products, I'm a big fan of cheat sheets and checklists and worksheets. Make it as easy and as simple and as enjoyable as possible for your customers to consume your product. Remember, we want their entire experience to be fantastic, from buying to follow-up to consumption, etc. You also want to make sure in your front-end products that you are demonstrating your expertise and positioning, right? You want to make sure that you are establishing credibility in the eyes of your new customers. You want to make sure that you are establishing your authority positioning, if you will. You want to make sure that your new customer is comfortable learning from you and comfortable hearing your methodology, your process, your system, etc. Don't think that just because you did it during the marketing and selling process that that's enough. You need to continue to establish your credibility, authority, and expertise and positioning throughout your front-end product. Again, I'm going to continue to remind you, because it's so important for you to understand this, that the front end is really the gateway or the segue to the back end. And the back end is where you make all of your money. And so we need this experience to be great, and we need your positioning to be great and perfect in order for new customers to continue moving on. And the last thing, which this is not necessarily in order of priority, but the last thing that I want to talk about is the objective of all front-end products is to set up the sale for your first back-end offer. It's to precede the coming offer, the coming product. It's to get them mentally and emotionally ready. It's to get them anticipating and looking forward to that next product. It's to pique their curiosity about the next product. It's to get them thinking and wanting to know more about that next product. This is why we don't create front-end products simply in a vacuum. Now look, if you've got an existing front-end product or two front-end products that you're already selling, that's okay. You can continue to sell those, market those, etc. But when it comes time to create and engineer a new front-end product, you want to strategically engineer that front-end product with marketing in mind. You want to engineer it as a marketer to set up the sale for your back-end offer. We're going to use what's called preceding the back-end sale. And there are a number of different ways to do this without blatant, explicit pitching or selling in the product. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about piquing curiosity. I'm talking about creating anticipation, creating excitement. I'm talking about planting seeds in the mind of your new customer. Number of different ways to do that. Let's start with the first one. The first way is with nonchalant comments. These are comments that you make throughout the product, whether it's a written product, whether it's a video product or an audio product, just nonchalant comments about other products that you have, about the maybe the next product that you're going to ultimately offer to them. If you mention something, a nonchalant comment, an example of a nonchalant comment is if I simply said, my name's, this is Todd Brown. Welcome to the E5, camp masterclass. What you'll find is that I'm a published author of blah, blah, blah product, this, that, right? Just making a nonchalant comment about a particular product. Also, kind of an offshoot of this is alluding to a back-end product, right? Alluding to a back-end product is if I said something like, in a product, if I said something like, this is a topic that I talk a lot about in the XYZ tomato growing program. For now, what I want you to understand is this, right? Or if I tell a story of when I was creating that product, or if I just simply reference that particular product, right? We're planting seeds that there's more that I have to offer. The next method is referencing information provided in a back-end product. Right? So really, I just gave you, you can allude to a back-end product. You can also reference information. Like this is a topic. There are 5 things that I cover in depth over the course of 3 hours in my LMNOP program. For right now, for this program, for this training, I want you to understand the first 2. The first one is blah, 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 right? So I'm referencing information provided in the back-end product. It's not an explicit pitch. I'm not trying to convince them to get the product. I'm not, I'm not explicitly selling anything. I'm simply referencing information that was provided. This is when I've said before many times, like, when I've talked about the big idea, which you're going to learn more about in this module, I've talked about that is a topic that I've covered over the course of 2 days. Individuals paid $10,000 to be in attendance at what was called the Big Idea Bootcamp. Right? See, that's me referencing, that's really me alluding to a back-end product. I'm doing that for a number of different reasons, right? I'm alluding to it to plant the seed that there is a product called the Big Idea Bootcamp. We don't sell it, but that's an example of alluding to a back-end product. And I'm also able to, by saying that and sharing that, right, folks paid $10,000 to be in attendance, I'm establishing a certain level of positioning, right? And so that's all we're doing. I wasn't pitching on the Big Idea Bootcamp. I'm simply alluding to that, referencing information in there, etc. Also, you can reference client or customer results from the back-end product. Right? That means I could say something like, right, this is a topic that I talked about over the course of 2 days at the Big Idea Bootcamp. And let me show you how valuable this information is. I'm about to give you a chunk of what it is that I shared in the Big Idea Bootcamp. Now, for example, one individual in attendance, Andre Chaperon, took what he learned at the Big Idea Bootcamp and went on to launch an entirely new company that did $2 million in the first 3 months, blah, 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 blah. Right? That's me referencing a client customer result from the back-end product. Now, one thing that I want you to understand is that I'm not just randomly throwing those out. I'm not talking about you randomly throwing this referencing of client customer results from back-end products out of the blue. If you were talking about a topic and you've got a back-end product that expands on that topic, then you can share, right? Like that, I have an entire course on this, and the individuals that have gone through this course collectively have generated this, or collectively have done this, or have grown the biggest tomatoes, or won awards, or blah, 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 right? And then you get back to sharing the information. So there's value. You're getting them, if anything, by referencing information from a back-end product, by referencing client customer results from a back-end product. You're getting your customers even more excited about the information that you're about to share with them in the current product that they own, that they have. You're building value around what it is that they currently have in front of them that they just paid for, but you're also planting a seed about more and about other things. Next is what I call useful but incomplete extra information. Now, this is critical that you understand the extra information. I'm not talking about useful but incomplete information, right? That's often done in a marketing funnel. That's, that useful but incomplete information falls under education-based marketing content, which you're going to learn about in a later module. That's not something that you ever want to do in a paid product. You always have to give useful and complete information that was promised to the new customer. Here, what we're talking about is extra information. This is information that wasn't promised as part of the marketing or sales campaign. So this might be an extra topic that you attach to the end, right? So for example, this might be if I put together a product all about front-end marketing funnels, and in the end, if I decided to give an extra module or an extra training about the back end, right? That wasn't promised as part of this particular training, let's just say, right? I can give useful but incomplete information so that there's a desire for more. This is the most explicit of all of these methods of preceding the back end. The key here with this is that it's extra information that was not promised. It's you going above and beyond. It's actually a way for you to over-deliver value and for you to exceed their expectations. Because when you do this right, like I'm going to teach you how to do later on in the E5 Camp Masterclass, this information, even though it's incomplete, is still useful. It's still valuable. It's still a value add. It still serves as a way for you to exceed their expectations. But because it's incomplete, it leaves them wanting more. It leaves them needing more. So it precedes and presets up the sale of your next back end. And so there you go. That's the simple way for you to maintain a marketer's mindset while you're creating content. Recognize that one of the objectives of your front-end product creation is to set up the sale of the back end. Here are 5 different methods that you can use. And if you go and you look at a variety of our front-end products at Marketing Funnel Automation, you're going to see a combination of all of these constantly and frequently used throughout. When you use these, when you sprinkle these throughout your product, your content, and you sprinkle it on top of extraordinary information where you're over-delivering value, this is not only very well received, but this is highly, highly effective. So there you go. That is how you strategically construct a front-end product to set up the sale for your first back end. With that, continue on to lesson number 9. In this lesson, we're going to talk about creating the 3-dimensional prospect psyche profile. And what this is all about is dimensionalizing what your prospect is experiencing on a day-to-day basis. This is about us entering their world, entering their mind, entering the conversation already going on in their head. This is about walking a mile in their shoes. This is really all about experiencing the problem and everything associated with the problem that your product or service solves from the perspective of your prospect. And so we do this with a 3-dimensional prospect profile, if you will. And what we're looking at 6 different things. We're looking at what are your prospects seeing? What are your prospects hearing? What are your prospects saying? What are your prospects thinking? What are your prospects doing? And what are your prospects feeling? Now, before I walk you through specifics of each of these 6, it's important for you to understand that this is not about an exact science. This is about you using plain old intuition and common sense. It's really just about you putting yourself in your prospect's shoes and thinking about if you were in their shoes, if you were in their situation, if you were dealing with their problem, what are the things that you'd be seeing? What are the things that you'd be hearing? What are the things that you'd be saying out loud or saying to yourself? What are the things that you'd be thinking? And what are the things that you'd be doing? And what are the things that you'd be feeling? So I don't want you to get burdened by this idea of, I don't know specifically what my prospects are saying or what specifically they're hearing. This is again about plain old intuition and common sense. It's about you empathizing with their experience, you putting yourself in their shoes and thinking about what you would be experiencing in each of these 6 categories. So let me walk you through each. First, what are they seeing? So, what are they seeing from other individuals, for example, that are suffering with the same problem that they're suffering with? What are they seeing from other individuals that are succeeding with a solution to the problem that they are struggling with? What are they seeing from experts, from professionals, from other vendors, companies, marketers, entrepreneurs? What are they seeing from family members, friends, coworkers, right? Are family members and friends giving them ads from newspapers, or are family members and friends showing them infomercials on TV? Are professionals, maybe they have a medical condition, diabetes, are they seeing various brochures from their doctor? What are they seeing from experts, maybe experts online in terms of emails, marketing campaigns, videos, etc.? What are they seeing on popular websites, right? Popular websites just in general related to their particular problem, specific websites, that are in the market, the specific market or industry that you're in. What are they seeing on social media, on television, movies, periodicals? What are they seeing in general advertisements, marketing campaigns? And what are they seeing in their life, in their existence, in their experience that they'd like to see more of? And what are they seeing day to day in their world, in their experience, that they'd like to see less of? Meaning, are they seeing their doctor on a regular basis because they need injections? Or are they seeing a therapist? Are they seeing weeds popping up on their lawn? Are they seeing their clothes getting tighter and tighter on them? Are they seeing that they're being ignored when they go to parties? Are they seeing that are they seeing, maybe, for example, that they're losing out on time with their children or grandchildren because of something that they're dealing with? Right? What are they seeing that they want to see more of, that they want to see more of? And what are they seeing that they want to see less of? What are they hearing now from experts, professionals, and other vendors? And what are they hearing from family, friends, coworkers, social media, right? Are they hearing from this could be about, if you're dealing with taxes or finances, are they hearing from experts they need to do XYZ? They're 10 years behind in saving. Are they hearing from family members and friends, just give up, don't worry about it, forget that? Are they hearing, ignore this, ignore that? Are they hearing from social media or coworkers, you're never going to lose weight, you're never going to achieve so-and-so, right? So what are they hearing about the problem, the situation that they're in? What are they hearing about various solutions that are available? What are they hearing about their fears, right, from experts and professionals and vendors and family members and friends and coworkers? Are they hearing acknowledgments? Are they hearing that you have every right to feel that way, that you should feel that way, that your greatest fears are going to happen? Are they hearing that their fears aren't going to come to fruition? Are they hearing that their desires are misplaced? Are they hearing that their desires are very appropriate? Are they hearing that their desires are out of reach? What are they hearing about the likelihood of their situation changing? About it changing for the positive, about it changing for the negative? And what are they hearing about their future as it relates to their situation, right? What are they hearing from family members, from friends, right? This is really about you digging into what is it that they're experiencing and what is it that's impacting their psyche, their thought process, their emotions, their feelings, right? And what is it that they're hearing from all these different individuals that play a role in how they judge everything else that comes across their desk, so to speak, that enters their mind, right? Because understand, you're not dealing with individuals in a vacuum. You're not dealing with prospects in a vacuum. You're dealing with three-dimensional human beings that are exposed to seeing things on a day-to-day basis, things that impact their decision-making process, that impact their thought process, that impact their feelings, that impact their perception, that impact their perspective, that impact their openness, that impact their desire for relief, for a solution, etc. So you need to really think through, what would your experience be? What would you be hearing as it relates to your future if you were dealing with the problem or situation that your prospects are dealing with, right? And then what are your prospects saying? What are they saying out loud to experts, to professionals, to vendors that they might be dealing with? What are they saying to family members and friends and coworkers and on social media? What are they saying specifically about their problem, about their situation, right? If they were sitting down at over dinner or over drinks or in a social setting, right? What would they be saying about their situation, about their problem, right? How would they be articulating it? What would they be focusing on? What wouldn't they be focusing on? What would they be talking about as the solution that they're looking for? What is it that they're desiring? What is it that they're afraid of, that they're saying out loud? How are they talking about it? How are they presenting it? How are they articulating what it is that they desire, what it is that they fear? How are they describing the thing that they desire, the ideal solution? How are they describing the solutions that are out there, that are available right now, right? And what are they saying about the likelihood of success or failure, about their future, right? And then what are they thinking? What are they thinking about what they're hearing and seeing from experts, professionals, vendors, family members, friends, coworkers, social media? What are they thinking about the problem, the situation? Now, some of this has crossover from module 1, but I really want you to put yourself in your prospect's shoes and think about, what are you thinking? What are they thinking about in terms of the problem situation? What are they thinking about as it relates to the various solutions available? Are they thinking that it's too hard for me? I won't stick to it. I've tried that already. That doesn't work. It only works for people that are in X situation or have XYZ connections, right? What are they thinking? What are they thinking about the likelihood of their success, the likelihood of failure, right? What are they thinking about as it relates to how their life is going to change if they do nothing, if they do something, if they do the wrong thing, right? What are they thinking about as it relates to their fears and desires? What is it that they're processing in their mind? What is it that they're thinking about in terms of negative? What is it that they're thinking about in terms of positive? What is it that they're thinking about in terms of their future? And another one is, what are they thinking about that's correct, right? How is it that your prospects are thinking, and what is it that they're thinking about that is good, that they should be thinking, that's correct, where they have the correct understanding, the correct perception, the correct perspective, right? And on the flip side, what are they thinking that's incorrect? What are they thinking that's just wrong? That's not the right way that they should be thinking, that they misunderstand, that they have a warped perspective on, right? This is about you, again, getting a three-dimensional picture of your prospect's psyche. And then what are they feeling? What are they feeling about what they're hearing and seeing from experts, professionals, vendors, family, friends, coworkers, social media? What are they feeling about the problem situation? Again, there's crossover from what we talked about in module 1, but I want you to think through, if you were in their shoes, right? Seeing the world, seeing day to day what it is that your prospects are experiencing, right? What are they feeling about their problem, about the situation? What are they feeling about the different solutions that are available to them? What are they feeling about their fears, about their desires? Are they feeling good about it? Are they feeling negative? Are they feeling sad? Are they feeling frustrated, disappointed? Are they feeling hopeful, right? What is it that they're feeling as it relates to these different things, right? What is it that they're feeling about their likelihood of success, their likelihood of failure, right? What is it that they're feeling about their future? And then finally, what is it that they're doing? And this is really this stems from what it is that we just talked about, right? What they do stems from how they feel, which stems from how they think, which stems from what they're seeing and hearing and so on. And so now it's, what are they doing? What are they doing day to day, week in and week out, month in and month out to address their problem? Are they doing anything? Are they doing 2 things, 3 things, 1 thing, right? What are they doing right now? What are they doing right now to address their problem? And what aren't they doing now to address their problem, right? What are the things that they should be doing that they're not doing? What are the steps that they're taking, and what are the steps that they're not taking, right? What are the steps that they're taking, or the actions that they're taking right now that they should be, right? And what are the steps that they're taking right now that they shouldn't be? What are the things that they're avoiding right now that it's good for them to avoid? And what are the things that they're avoiding that they really should be doing, right? What are they doing that's working? If you were seeing life through the eyes of your typical prospect, what are they doing that's working, that's effective, that's helping them? What are they doing that's not working? What are they doing that's potentially hurting them? right? And what are they doing that they would like to do more of? And again, what are they doing that they would like to do less of? This is again going back to like, what are they seeing that they'd like to see more of? What are they hearing that they'd like to hear more of? Or what are they seeing that they'd like to see less of? Hearing that they'd like to hear less of? What are they doing that they'd like to do more of and less of? Are they giving blood too often? Are they going to the doctor, the hospital too often, right? Because because their problem, their diabetes isn't under control. Are they they're starting to shop for smaller clothes and they want to do that more. They're starting to be more social and they want to do that more. They're going to more parties. They're going out on more dates on Saturday night. What is it that they're doing that they'd like to do more of? And what is it that they're doing that they'd like to do less of? Now, what you want to do is you want to take out what is the worksheet that is based on the principle or a principle that's typically referred to as an empathy map. And this is really, again, putting yourself in your prospect's shoes and seeing the world from their eyes. The thing that I want you to recognize with this version of the empathy map is that they're numbered. They're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The first one being seeing, the last one being doing. And that's because I want you to fill these in numerical order. I want you to start with what are they seeing? What are they hearing? Then what are they saying, right? What are they thinking? What are they feeling? And ultimately, what are they doing? I want you to fill it in that order. Remember, this is all about intuition and common sense. If you were in their shoes, what would you be seeing? What would you be hearing? What would you be saying, thinking, feeling, and doing? Once you fill that out, continue on to Module 3. All right, welcome to module number 2, part 2 of the examination stage. Now, in this module, we're going to take your examination process up another level. I'm going to teach you how to use the prospect awareness pyramid. This is a tool that will tell you the type of message that you're going to need to design to have a high converting campaign. I'm also going to show you how to use a tool that we call the promise exposure spectrum. Now, this tells you a lot about what your prospects have heard before from competitors. So it tells you what message would be perceived as the same or ordinary and what message you need to convey in order to have something new, unique, and fresh. And then finally, at the end of this module, I'm going to teach you how to put together a 3-dimensional profile of your best customer. I'm going to show you how to craft this image that brings your prospect, that brings your customer to life so that you're able to design your marketing message with imagery, with flair, with a message that pops. And so go ahead and get started with the first lesson. In this lesson, we're going to talk about engineering the perfect marketing funnel thesis. Now, before we jump into the funnel thesis, let's do a quick review of the 4 main message elements that make up a high conversion marketing funnel. So we've got the big idea, which we're going to cover in our next lesson. We've got the lead, which is the first 500 to 800 words of your funnel. We're going to cover that in the next module. There's your marketing argument, which actually consists of the thesis, which we're going to be talking about in just a second. This is the body of your marketing funnel. And then there is the offer, which, of course, you know, that's what we just covered. Again, in the order that we're going to cover these things was the offer, which we already covered in the prior lesson. In this lesson, we're going to talk about the thesis. Then in the next lesson, we're going to cover the big idea. Then in the following module, we're going to cover the lead as well as the marketing argument. Now, again, before we jump into the thesis, I want to reiterate something to you that I shared in the introductory training session to the E5 Camp Masterclass. And that is that it's all about marketing, not selling. Remember, we're marketers, not salespeople. And there's a huge difference between marketing and selling. Most marketers conflate the two. They talk about the two activities as if they're the same thing. But marketing and selling are vastly two different activities with two different objectives. Selling is all about the product. It's all about the deliverables, the features, the why, the benefits of the product. It's all about the price and terms. It's all about the premiums and bonuses and risk reversal and so on. Whereas marketing is all about the prospect and their situation, their obstacle, their pain, and the best solution for them based on their situation. The objective of marketing is to make selling superfluous, to make it unnecessary, as Peter Drucker said, right? The better the job that you do with marketing, the easier the selling job becomes. Because what marketing does is it takes your prospects' desire, the desire for transformation, the desire for a result, the desire for an outcome, and it turns it into demand for your product before you ever even offer the product. And so marketing is what it is that we're doing. We're not simply selling. We're not simply talking about a product and then asking for the call to action. We're building demand through our marketing. And again, in the E5 Camp Masterclass, you're going to learn exactly step by step how to do that. For right now, I want to reiterate this point because it's directly tied in with the marketing thesis, with your marketing campaign or marketing funnel thesis. So again, you've seen this timeline before, and you're going to see this again and again. This represents your funnel. This represents your marketing campaign, no matter what it consists of, no matter what the model is that you may be using, no matter what the stages or steps or elements of the marketing campaign are. The way I approach every marketing campaign, every marketing funnel, is that 75% of what I do and show and demonstrate and present is marketing. It's all about the prospect, and I'm building a case through educational-based marketing content, which you're going to learn how to do when we get to the marketing argument lesson. It's all about building a case for my offer before I even present the offer. And so everything that I do and say and show and demonstrate is done with a strategic purpose. Nothing should be in your marketing funnel. Nothing should be, especially in the marketing section, but really nothing should be in your entire marketing funnel that does not serve a strategic purpose. And if you don't know what that purpose is and you can't articulate that purpose, the reason why you're saying something, the reason why you're showing something, the reason why you're doing something, it should not be in the funnel. Now, to give you an idea of how this 75% breaks down, or really how this entire timeline breaks down, and where and how the thesis comes into play. And I'm going to explain to you what the thesis is. I'm going to show you a lot of examples, and we're going to break it down so that you understand how simple it is. Don't be intimidated by the word thesis. Take a look at this kind of more myopic view, if you will, more detailed view of the timeline. The 75%, which is our marketing, consists of 3 of the 4 main message elements, right? We've got the big idea, which you know is what kind of intrigues your prospect. We've got the lead, which is what sucks the prospect in, creates that higher level or that deeper level of engagement. Then we have the marketing argument, and as you're going to learn today in this lesson, the marketing argument is all about getting the thesis accepted by the prospect. Once the thesis is accepted by the prospect, then we're ready to present the offer. Then we've primed the prospect to accept or take advantage of the offer. The entire marketing argument is really all about presenting the case for the thesis, getting your prospects to buy into your marketing thesis. And by buying into your marketing thesis, they are going to be primed to accept your offer, to jump at your offer. They're going to be grateful and thankful that you're presenting the offer to them after we've presented the marketing argument and have gotten them to accept the thesis. The reason why we break this down into 2 separate pieces, really the marketing argument and the thesis, is because you start with understanding the thesis. You start with, right, this is in essence, you remember when I shared with you in a prior lesson that the reason why we started with the offer is because ultimately we need to know where we're leading our prospect. You can see from this timeline that ultimately the offer is in the end. It's the ultimate destination, if you will, of our marketing funnel, of our marketing campaign. But when we take a step back from that, right behind the offer is accepting the thesis. And so right behind accepting the thesis is we need to know, well, what is the thesis? We can't design a marketing argument unless we know what the thesis of that argument is, unless we know where that marketing argument is taking the prospect. And so we start with the marketing funnel thesis. So what is the marketing funnel thesis? It's actually very simple. The marketing funnel thesis is the one main thing that your prospects need to believe before you present your offer in order for them to buy. It's the one thing that they need to accept. It's the one thing they need to buy into. It's the one thing they need to agree with, so that when you make the offer, they see it as the most exciting, most viable, best choice for them to make right now for their situation. It's the one thing that your prospects need to believe before you present your offer for them to buy. It's the one thing that they need to believe so that they see your offer as the answer, as the solution, right? And so the thing for you to understand is that our aim when designing our marketing funnel, when certainly designing the marketing portion of the funnel. Remember, in our prior lesson, we already talked about the selling stage. We talked about the presentation of the offer and how you engineer, create, and present a superior and irresistible offer. Well, now what I want you to understand is that before we do that, we need to have your thesis accepted. By that point, before we present the offer, we have to have the funnel thesis accepted. Now, I want to share with you my mindset, and I'm going to share this again in a later lesson, but I want you to understand this right now before we dive into the two simple components of the thesis. When I sit down to create a marketing funnel, I don't think like a marketer. I don't think like a salesperson. Instead, I tend to think like a prosecutor. I'm a prosecutor who is presenting a logical and emotional case to the jury. In our case, the jury represents our pool of prospects. And just like a prosecutor who presents a very strategic and methodical case with a sequence of claims and proof points, designed to do one thing and one thing only, and that's lead the jury to ultimately see the defendant as guilty, right? That's the way I think. Just like a prosecutor would never ask the jury to go into the jury room and come to a verdict and make a decision on the guilt or non-guilt of the defendant until they've proven their case, until they've gotten the jury to buy into their thesis, right? Their thesis is typically presented during opening arguments. When they open a court case, they'll present their thesis, right? Their thesis is this defendant is guilty of the crime and should be punished to the full extent of the law. And today I'm going to present all of the evidence and all the reasons why this is the case, right? So the prosecutor presents their thesis up front, and then the rest of their case is all about presenting the reasons, the claims, the evidence, the proof points, one at a time, methodically, strategically, to appeal to the jury's logic and their emotion all the way until they're done, right? Done, meaning in the prosecutor's mind, they've presented a rock-solid, airtight, logical, and emotional argument proving the thesis. Only when they feel that they have proven their case, proven their thesis, gotten the jury to accept their thesis that the defendant is guilty of the crime and should be punished to the full extent of the law, does the prosecutor then make their They're closing arguments, which in our world would be considered, the call to action or the offer and the call to action. And so I want you to understand that the whole goal of the marketing portion of your funnel is to get that thesis accepted, right? To get the prospect to buy into the thesis. And the thesis is the one overarching belief that your prospects need to have in order to buy. And so the marketing thesis is really composed of two things. It's really made up of two things. I'm going to show you a handful of examples so that you can see what this looks like. The first piece that makes up the marketing thesis is really ultimately the promise of desirable result. It's really like the thesis is really, right, that you're promising them a desirable result. You're promising them an outcome, a transformation that they want. You're promising them that big thing that they want, right? And we're going to talk about in the next lesson what is called the primary promise. And so you're going to understand how to really dial in this promise. But ultimately, the thesis is about the desirable result, right? That you're promising them that they're going to have the desirable result that they want. The second piece is that the promised desirable result will happen because of what's called your unique mechanism, or what I'm going to refer to in this lesson as the thesis solution. Now, you're going to learn all about the unique mechanism and making sure that you understand it fully and you know how to flesh it out in the next lesson. But for right now, what I want you to understand is that the unique mechanism, or in this lesson, the thesis solution, which is, it's one and the same, unique mechanism, thesis solution, same thing, is that it is the unique piece, part, component, aspect, process, system behind your product or service that delivers the result. It's the part of your product or service that is unique to your product or service and is the thing that delivers the promise for the prospect. Again, the unique mechanism, the thesis solution, is not your product or service. It's what powers your product or service. It's the part of your product or service, or the piece of your product or service, or the strategy, the system, or the ingredient, or the algorithm, or the method behind your product or service that delivers the promise. It's the thing within your product or service that gives prospects the result. And so your marketing thesis is really just a statement that is that promises to deliver the result, and it promises to deliver the result because of your unique mechanism. Very simple. Let me show you how simple this is with a couple of examples. So our first example, the easiest and most profitable way for any pizzeria to get new customers using the internet is with precision targeted Facebook advertising. Now let me break this down for you. Two components: the desirable result, an easy and profitable way for a pizzeria owner in this case to get new customers from the internet, right? So if we were marketing marketing and ultimately selling a training program all about Facebook advertising, the desirable result for, in this case, pizzeria owners is an easy and profitable way to use the internet to get new customers into your pizzeria. The unique mechanism, the unique way, the thesis solution in this case, is precision targeted Facebook advertising. Here's another example. To get your marketing conversions above 10%, you need to have an adaptive, responsive, smart funnel. The desirable result, get your conversions above 10%. The unique mechanism, the thesis solution, an adaptive, responsive, smart funnel. This was actually used. This was from one of my campaigns. Here's another example marketing thesis. The unique combination of a vegetarian diet and a Mediterranean diet called vegetarian is the most effective way to lower cholesterol naturally and keep it down. By the way, I made that up for this example. But that's an example of a marketing thesis, right? I've got the most effective way to lower cholesterol naturally and keep it down is the desirable result. Don't be confused just because I flipped them in here and I stated the unique mechanism first. We still have the desirable result, the desirable outcome. In this case, it would be for individuals interested in cardiovascular health, lowering cholesterol, doing it naturally without medications, etc. That's the desirable result. And of course, the unique mechanism is the vegetarian diet. That's what's unique. That's the thesis solution, right? And so it's important for you to understand that the reason why I'm talking about like this thesis solution, this, unique mechanism within the context of the thesis is because just like if you were writing an essay that has a thesis, right? Whatever that thesis is, and I'm going to give you an example in just a second. You have to, right, when you state a thesis, right, there is always a thesis solution. In order for prospects to actually accept your thesis, they actually have to accept your thesis solution. They have to believe in your thesis solution. It's believing in your thesis solution that leads to them believing in your thesis. Let me give you examples because I think that the examples will really bring this home. Let's take a simple example thesis. This is not necessarily an example marketing thesis. This is just a general example thesis. The key to fixing our state government is to have a libertarian governor, right? Let's say that was the thesis of an argument. That was the thesis of my debate. That was a thesis of my essay, or that was the thesis of a marketing funnel or a campaign to elect a libertarian governor. So that is the desirable result is fixing our state government. And of course, the example thesis solution is the libertarian governor, right? So in order for individuals to accept my thesis that the key to fixing our state government is to have a libertarian government, they have to believe in a libertarian governor. It would be my job in this case to show them why a libertarian governor, rather than a Republican or a Democrat or some other party, is the answer. I would have to make claims about that governor, offer proof about a libertarian governor, and ultimately lead them through a logical and emotional argument for why a libertarian governor is the way to go. And only through getting them to accept in the libertarian governor would they be able to accept that the key to fixing our state is to have a libertarian governor. Let me give you another example. The solution to reducing your likelihood of developing diabetes is being on a proper exercise program. That's the thesis, right? Reducing your likelihood of developing diabetes is the desirable result. Being on a proper exercise program is the example thesis solution. In this case, if I was presenting this argument, which is really the same process as presenting a marketing argument, I would have to present evidence for why a proper exercise program reduces the likelihood of developing diabetes. And I'd have to show why the other possible solutions are not the answer for lowering the likelihood of diabetes. I would have to prove that a proper exercise program, I would have to prove what it does and how it does it and why it does it and why it ultimately reduces the likelihood of developing diabetes. Remember, if I can't prove that a proper exercise program is the answer, then they won't accept that the solution to reducing their likelihood of developing diabetes is being on a proper exercise program. Right? So I'm just really breaking down the thesis for you into kind of the different components so that you can just see how simple the thesis solution is. So let's look at the marketing thesis solution, right? So your thesis solution is the method behind your unique mechanism. It's really your unique mechanism. That's what it is. It is your unique mechanism. And what we do is when we present the marketing argument, we're presenting the thesis solution. We're presenting an argument for your unique mechanism. We're building the case for why your unique mechanism is the answer, why your unique mechanism is the perfect solution, why your unique mechanism is going to give them the result that they want, why your unique mechanism works better, faster, cheaper, whatever it may be, than any other solution out there. We're presenting a case. We're presenting an argument for why that thesis solution is the answer to their problem. Now, the thing that I want you to understand, and we're gonna kind of cover this in much more detail when we get to the lesson on the marketing argument. The thing that I want you to understand is you can see how we're able to do this with education-based marketing content. We're able to do this by educating the prospect, but we're not educating the prospect just for the sake of educating them. We're educating them in a way that establishes the thesis solution as the answer. So to the prospect, it's valuable because we're teaching them, we're educating them, we're enlightening them, we're opening their eyes to to what the best solution is and why. It doesn't look like selling because we're not selling. It doesn't feel like selling because we're not selling. We're educating them on why your unique mechanism, why your thesis solution is the answer. Now, again, I want to reiterate, and this is very important, the thesis solution, the unique mechanism, is not your product. It's not your product. It's the part of your product. It's the piece of your product that's unique to your product that delivers all of the result, that delivers the promise, that fulfills the promise. It's the reason why your prospect can expect to get the result, the transformation. And that is an important point, because it's an important point because I don't want you to think that we're constantly talking to them about why your product is the answer. We're not talking to them about why your product is the answer. If that's what we were doing, we would be selling. During the marketing portion, we're talking about why the thesis solution, why the unique mechanism is the answer. And that's not selling. We're teaching, we're educating, we're enlightening them. And so by the time that they reach that green dot, by the time that they've accepted and bought into and are excited about the thesis solution, the only question that's left in their mind is, well, how do I get it? I love it. I see it. I understand it. I want it. That's the answer. That's what I need. That's what I have to get. That's when we present the offer. And that's why they're grateful and excited for you presenting the offer, because you educated them in a way that led them to see that your unique mechanism, which is what powers your product, is the answer for them. So look, let's go back to the original examples, right, of the marketing thesis. The easiest and most profitable way for any pizzeria to get new customers using the internet is with precision targeted Facebook advertising. The thesis solution, the unique mechanism, is precision targeted Facebook advertising. Remember, we're not just selling the generic. We're not selling a commodity. We're not selling Facebook advertising. We're selling your unique mechanism, your unique method, your unique process, your unique system. We're selling precision targeted Facebook advertising. That's your method, right? In this example, they can't get that anywhere else. They can't go to Google and learn about that from anybody else, because it's your unique mechanism. It's unique to your product. And again, you'll learn how to create a unique mechanism in the 3 different ways in our next lesson. The next example, to get your marketing conversions above 10%, you need to have an adaptive responsive smart funnel. Well, the thesis solution, the unique mechanism in this case, is an adaptive responsive smart funnel. That's what, in the funnel that I designed around this particular thesis, and this thesis solution was all about why an adaptive responsive smart funnel is so effective at generating double-digit conversions, how it works, why static funnels are not nearly as effective as a responsive adaptive funnel, what an adaptive responsive funnel means, what it does, how it works, why it's effective. I wasn't talking about my product. I wasn't talking about my program. I was talking about an adaptive responsive smart funnel. To the prospect, it feels like it is it's an educational point. It feels like we're educating, and we are educating, but we're doing it strategically to lead them to accept our unique mechanism before we offer them the unique mechanism in our product. Next example, the unique combination of a vegetarian diet and a Mediterranean diet called the vegetarian diet is the most effective way to lower cholesterol naturally and keep it down. The thesis solution, the unique mechanism, is a vegetarian diet approach. That's the unique mechanism, right? That's a proprietary, unique method that we created. And you'll notice that I said a unique combination of a vegetarian diet and a Mediterranean. If I would have said a combination of a vegetarian diet and a Mediterranean diet, that's generic, because they can go and they can learn about vegetarian diet and a Mediterranean diet. But because I said a unique combination, that makes it proprietary, because they don't know what that unique combination is. So it's a unique combination. And that vegetarian diet approach is the unique mechanism. So here's how this breaks down so that you can see this all together. So we've got our marketing argument that you're going to learn how to create in the next module. The marketing argument establishes the thesis solution. It gets buy-in to the thesis solution, right? It gets that thesis solution accepted and believed. That, in this case, the precision targeted Facebook advertising is the way for any pizzeria owner to easily and quickly get new customers from the internet profitably. Once they've accepted that precision targeted Facebook advertising, right? That's how we get our marketing thesis exposed, accepted, that the easiest and most profitable way for any pizzeria to get new customers using the internet is with precision targeted Facebook advertising. Well, once they accept that's the easiest and most profitable way for them to get new customers, that's when we introduce our product, our offer. And in this case, I just made this up, but precision targeted Facebook advertising for pizzeria owners. That's our product. Right? That's our product. Let me give you another example. The marketing argument leads to the thesis solution of an adaptive, responsive smart funnel. That's what the marketing argument does. It establishes that an adaptive, responsive smart funnel is the key to get your marketing conversions above 10%. The product that I sold was the smart funnel formula, right? The smart funnel formula was powered by an adaptive, responsive smart funnel. The smart funnel formula taught how to set up an adaptive, responsive smart funnel. So it was not my job during the marketing portion to create buy-in for the smart funnel formula. It was my job during the marketing portion to create buy-in on the value of an adaptive, responsive smart funnel and how that adaptive, responsive smart funnel actually gets conversions above 10%. Our last example was that vegetarian diet. That's what the marketing argument is designed to prove and establish, that the vegetarian diet approach is the answer, right? That the unique combination of a vegetarian diet and a Mediterranean diet called vegetarian is the most effective way to lower cholesterol naturally and keep it down. Once they accept that, at the end of the marketing portion, that's when I can introduce and sell my lifelong heart health, the Vegetarian Way product. Right? And so that's the aim of the thesis. Again, it is the one overarching belief that your prospects need to have before you present your offer in order to buy. So how do you craft your marketing thesis? First, you determine the desirable result that your prospects want, that your product is going to give them, and then you give the unique mechanism that will give it to them. You select, you choose your unique mechanism, the unique piece, part, component, process, aspect of your product or service that gives the desirable result, that is responsible for the desirable result that your prospects want. So with that, go ahead and take out your engineering marketing thesis worksheet and fill that bad boy out, and then continue on to lesson number 11. In this lesson, the first in our engineering stage, we're going to talk about your engineering tools. Now, before we jump into this quick little lesson, I want to make one very important point, and that is I'm really tool agnostic. And what I mean by that is that it's not about the tools. If you line up 12 of the most successful marketers that you know, and you asked all 12 to share with you the different tools that they use, odds are you would get 12 different sets of tools being used. And that's because it's not about the tool. It's about how you use the tools. So in this little video, what I wanted to do for you was very quickly talk about the 4 different types of engineering tools that you'll use. These are really the 4 tools that you need to really run a marketing-based business. And so very quickly, I'm going to share with you the tools that I use, that we use at Marketing Funnel Automation. I'll share a little bit about why we use these particular tools, and then I'm going to give you a couple of alternatives to the tools that I use. Again, it's very important for me that you understand that it's not about the tool. I've got clients that use virtually every different tool that you can imagine for these 4 different categories, so please keep that in mind. With that being said, the first type of tool that you need is a tool to send your email broadcasts, your email autoresponders, what I would really call a CRM, a customer relationship management application. The second type of tool that you'll need is a page builder. Fortunately, today there are all different types of really simple tools to use to set up and publish your pages on the internet. I'll share with you the one tool that we really utilize. Again, totally not about the tool. You need a tool for order processing, and you need a tool for tracking and reporting on your metrics. So The tool of choice for us at Marketing Funnel Automation for email, for really our hub, our CRM, is Infusionsoft. Now, I've been using Infusionsoft for over a decade now. It's gone through a tremendous evolution in terms of how you use the tool, in terms of its capabilities, in terms of what it does. And I'm a huge fan of Infusionsoft. I know that there is buzz out there about Infusionsoft being a complicated tool. It's really not complicated, but it is complex, meaning that it is a very robust tool. When it comes to marketing automation, I consider Infusionsoft to be the Ferrari of applications out there because of what it allows you to do. Now, it was only up until very recently that Infusionsoft was the only tool on the market that allowed for really deep segmentation on the fly, just a lot of really cool marketing automation. Today, there are a couple of alternatives, about one of which I'll tell you in a second. The reason why I'm sharing this with you about Infusionsoft and about the alternative that I'll tell you about in just a second is because a tool like this, compared to a standard email autoresponder or email broadcasting application like, let's say, MailChimp or GetResponse, is that when using a tool like Infusionsoft, you have a tremendous competitive advantage in terms of what it is that you can do, what it is that you can do on the fly, how you can segment on the fly, how you can segment based on pages on your website visited, links clicked in emails and whatnot. And so while you don't need to use Infusionsoft, I do think that you are at a disadvantage when using a traditional old school email autoresponder. Now, the alternative to Infusionsoft is ActiveCampaign. I don't use ActiveCampaign, but I have a lot of clients that use ActiveCampaign, and ActiveCampaign is a cheaper alternative to Infusionsoft that still allows for a lot of really cool, really advanced marketing automation. Now let's talk about the page builder. The page builder that we mainly rely on at Marketing Funnel Automation, and we use a handful, but the one that we mainly rely on is ClickFunnels. This is an application from my buddy Russell Brunson, who is a very savvy marketer. It's an application that's built by marketers for marketers, and it's really, really revolutionized the whole world of page building. When I first got started online, we had to code things using Dreamweaver, Microsoft Front Page. Today, with a tool like ClickFunnels, everything is virtually drag and drop, very simple, very fast, very easy to publish web pages. The alternative to ClickFunnels, or a tool that we use often in conjunction with ClickFunnels, is a tool from the folks over at Thrive Themes. It's the content builder from Thrive Themes. So why do we sometimes use the content builder, which this is a plugin that gets installed on a WordPress website with a WordPress theme? The reason why we sometimes will build pages using the content builder is because with WordPress on our own domain, we have a lot more control. There's a lot more coding that we can do, a lot more custom stuff that we can do. And so when you get to the point where you're doing a lot of custom scripts, you're doing a lot of custom stuff, you may need to use an alternative to ClickFunnels. Keep in mind that while ClickFunnels has a diverse set of built-in kind of applications and tools and add-ons and things that you can do, sometimes you might want to do something that goes beyond what ClickFunnels allows. That's when we'll publish a page on our own domain using Thrive Themes and the content builder. The next type of tool that you need is something for order processing. Now, the tool that I recommend for order processing and have recommended for a number of years from the time that Samcart came out on the market is Samcart. It's an application that has been created by Brian and Scott Moran, marketers for marketers. And Samcart is one of the easiest applications to use for the type of marketing that we do. And what I mean by that is marketing campaigns, marketing funnels that require upsells, downsells, add-on offers, etc. While we use you can also use ClickFunnels, by the way, for that, which is the primary tool that we use. So the cool thing about ClickFunnels is that it will also allow you to process orders as well. If you're not using ClickFunnels and you're using something like Thrive Themes, or you're using another page builder like Lead Pages or Optimize Press or Instapage or Instabuilder, you'll need a tool to process orders. You'll need something that will accept credit cards, accept PayPal, and deposit the money in your bank account. A tool like Samcart is fantastic. An alternative to Samcart and kind of an up-and-coming application is an application called ThriveCart. And ThriveCart allows you to do not only what Samcart does, not as elegant, that's for sure. It's not as elegant and it's not been around nearly as long as Samcart, but ThriveCart allows you to do some additional cool things for certain things that you may want to test, like pay what you feel like. In other words, giving people the ability to just submit a price that they want to pay. Doing things like countdown of products. So if you're offering 50 of a particular product or a book or something like that, ThriveCart will dynamically do the countdown for you. So very cool alternative. It's not a monthly, it's a one-time fee, and it's a great little tool that we've been playing around with. The last type of tool that you need is for tracking. And the tool of choice is ConversionFly. Now, a little disclaimer, I am an owner at ConversionFly. I paid a lot of money into the six figures to date to have this tool created. And the beauty of ConversionFly was that it was designed so that you can track every single detail of every single marketing funnel from beginning to end. It tracks all traffic sources, both paid and free. It only requires one piece of code copied and pasted onto your website one time, and that's it. You don't have to worry about conversion pixels or anything like that. And it tracks leads across all platforms, mobile, tablet, desktop, you name it. And it reports on over 21 different direct response marketing metrics, and allows you to do some super advanced stuff that I wanted to be able to do that I had built in, like testing different elements of a funnel per traffic source. So you can have one funnel and you can test upsells and downsells, while you have that one funnel just for a particular source of traffic like YouTube, Facebook, etc. Don't want to turn this into a commercial for ConversionFly, but it is the tool that you should be using to track all of your funnels. The second tool that I want to mention, but not for the purpose of tracking and reporting on your funnels, but is Google Analytics. And Google Analytics is a free tool from Google, and it's a tool that you should be using not for tracking, but for analytics. And so it's a different type of set of metrics that you're gonna get from Google, that you're gonna use from Google. While you can track your funnels with Google Analytics, you definitely don't want to do it. It's complex, a lot of room for error, but it's a great tool to utilize to understand a lot of deeper analytics about your site. How many people are accessing your site on mobile, and from what countries, and what browsers, what devices, and so on and so forth. So great tool. So hopefully that helps give you an overview of your engineering tools. With that, continue on to lesson 8. All right, congratulations on completing the examination stage modules. Now it's time to go into the second stage of the E5 method. This is the engineering stage. This is where we design, set up, create your winning campaign. Now, module 3 is the first of 3 modules covering the engineering stage. This is where the rubber meets the road. Now, in this module, we're going to cover the first 3 elements of putting together or engineering your campaign. We're going to start by talking about your thesis, the one belief, the overarching belief that you need prospects to have in order to buy. We're then going to go on and talk about creating your SIN offer, a superior, irresistible, and no-brainer offer. One of the most critical elements of every single marketing campaign. And then we're going to be talking about the a big marketing idea. One of the most important pieces in all of marketing today, and quite likely the most valuable lesson in the entire E5 Camp Masterclass. So with that, get ready, get excited, and dive into the first lesson in this module. In this lesson, we're going to talk all about conducting the promise exposure spectrum analysis. This is actually very simple, but this is one of the most critical aspects of the entire examination stage. Now, what the promise exposure spectrum analysis is all about is understanding what promise have your prospects already heard from competitors. In other words, what marketing message, marketing appeal, benefit statements, claims, promises have your prospects already been exposed to from other companies, from other marketers, from other entrepreneurs? The reason why this is so critical is because differentiation in marketing is key. You need to have something different and unique to say to your market in order today to get attention and generate engagement. And so it's critical that you understand where on the promise exposure spectrum your prospects fall. Now, it's also important for you to understand that the single biggest reason for marketing funnel failure, the single biggest reason for why a marketing funnel does not work is because of what I call an immature marketing message. That's a marketing message that actually is designed for prospects that are lower on the promise exposure spectrum than where your prospects are, right? A message that is designed for prospects that are at stage 1 or stage 2, when your prospects are at stage 3 or stage 4, is the single biggest reason for marketing funnel failure. And so I'm going to walk you through the 5 different stages of the promise exposure spectrum, and I'm going to walk you through the 3 simple steps of doing this analysis so you can pinpoint where on the spectrum your prospects fall. Let me quickly cover the 3 steps to conducting the promise exposure spectrum analysis, and then I'll quickly walk you through each step. So step number 1 is determining the primary promise of your marketing funnel. This is the promise that you are ultimately going to be making in your marketing campaign, in your marketing funnel to prospects. What is it that you're promising them they'll experience? What is it that you're promising that they won't have to deal with anymore in terms of pain or obstacles or barriers, right? What is the primary promise of your marketing funnel? What is the one single solitary overarching promise that you are going to be making to prospects? Now, in a later module and in a later lesson, I'm going to walk you through how to ensure that your primary promise is dialed and stellar. But for right now, for this analysis in the examination stage, you just need to have a general understanding of what the promise is that you're going to be presenting or making to prospects in your marketing funnel. Step 2 is for you to review your competitor analysis worksheets, right? Your competitor analysis worksheets from module 1. And specifically what you're going to be looking at is you're going to be looking at the primary promise of each of the top competitors that you analyzed in module 1. The third step is you're going to then determine, based on your primary promise and the promises that have already been made by competitors, what stage your prospects are at on the promise exposure spectrum. So let's cover each of these 3 steps quickly. So step number 1 is determine the primary promise of your marketing funnel. You want to take out the promise exposure spectrum worksheet that comes with this module and lesson. And at the top of the worksheet, you want to write in your marketing promise. Again, this is simply what is it that you are promising prospects they are going to experience by going through your funnel? What benefit are you promising them they're going to experience? What outcome, what result, what transformation, what change in their life are you promising them they are going to experience? That's step 1. Step 2 is take out the competitor analysis worksheets that you filled out from module 1, find the section on each that says primary marketing promise, and you want to review what those promises are of your top direct response competitors. Now, what you're looking for here is you're looking to see if there are any common themes or trends, if there are promises that are repeated, if there are promises that appear several times from a variety of different competitors. You're also looking to see if there are just individual promises that are unique from competitor to competitor, meaning if you analyzed or you examined 5 or 6 or 7 competitors, do all 7 or 5 or 6, whatever the number is, have the same promise? Are they all promising the same result, the same transformation, the same outcome? Are they promising something different, right? For example, if you were operating in the weight loss space, are all of your competitors promising quick weight loss? Are they all focusing on pounds lost? Are some of them focusing on inches? Are some of them focusing on water weight? Are some of them focusing primarily on fat weight? What are the different promises that your competitors are making? Now, based on an understanding of what your promise is going to be, and the promises that have been presented by your top 5 to 7 direct response competitors, or whatever you examined for your marketplace in Module 1, you then want to determine what stage your prospects are at on the promise exposure spectrum. Now, there are 5 stages of this spectrum. I want to quickly walk you through each of the 5 stages so that you understand what's going on in your marketplace, what's going on at each stage, so that you can very quickly and very easily determine which is the stage of your prospects. The first stage is what we call promise. Now, this is the stage when your prospects have not been exposed to your promise yet. Meaning, if you have a promise, if you're making a promise of outcome, a promise of result, a promise of transformation, if you are presenting a promise that your prospects have not heard before, that you're the first person, the first company, the first marketer to present the promise, your prospects are at stage 1, right? The example that I like to give all the time when talking about the promise exposure spectrum is the idea of fat burners. You know, the pills that people take to help them lose weight. Well, the first time a fat burner was released by the first company, the first entrepreneur, the first marketer, all that had to be said in order to market and sell those fat burners effectively was, take this pill and you'll lose weight. That's all that needed to be said. That was the promise. And the reason why that's all that needed to be said was because prospects at the time had never heard that promise before. They'd heard other promises related to losing weight, right? Related to shedding pounds, but they had never heard the promise of simply pop this pill and you will lose weight. And so that was a stage 1 market. At that time, all they needed to say, the purveyors of the first fat burner, were, take this pill and you'll lose weight. But like in every marketplace, what happens is, over time, as prospects are exposed to more and more of that promise, they become less and less responsive to it. So over time, competitors came along, in our example with fat burners, and they began to knock off that promise. They began to say things like, right, instead of pop this pill and you'll lose weight, take this pill to lose weight, take this pill to lose pounds, take this supplement to shed fat, right? All variations of the same exact promise. Well, again, over time, prospects became more sophisticated. They began to respond less and less to that similar promise. And so they moved to the next stage of the promise exposure spectrum. The next stage is where we see the promise expanded. Now, your market or your prospects are at this stage if your promise has already been presented to prospects, but is not being expanded on by competitors. What do I mean by expanded on? Well, in any marketplace, what happens when prospects move from stage 1 to stage 2 is marketers take the promise and they expand it. They enlarge it. Meaning it goes from take this pill and you'll lose weight to take this pill and you'll lose 10 pounds. Take this pill and you'll lose 15 pounds. Take this pill and you'll lose 20 pounds and 15 inches. They begin to enlarge and expand the promise. They begin to enlarge and expand the claim. Well, just like what happened with stage one, at stage two, what happens is eventually marketers can no longer expand the claim. They can no longer expand the claim because either one, it's simply not true, meaning take this pill and you'll lose 100 pounds, right? For example, that's it's simply not true with any of the current fat burners on the market today. So it's either not true or it's simply just not believable and not credible anymore, right? And so simply enlarging the claim no longer works. That's when we reach a point where prospects begin to move from stage two of the promise exposure spectrum into stage three. Stage three is where prospects are then exposed to a promise and a unique mechanism. Now, this is the stage that your prospects are in if they've heard your promise and your promise has been expanded already, but your promise has not been presented with your mechanism. So what do I mean by mechanism or unique mechanism? Well, the unique mechanism, and we're going to talk more about this, actually fleshing this out and developing this for your marketing funnel the right way in a later module and a later lesson. But for right now, I want you to understand that the unique mechanism is the unique piece, part, component, aspect, process of your product or service that delivers on the promise. It's the unique component, it's the unique ingredient, it's the unique element in your fat burner that delivers the promise, that causes you to lose pounds. It's the unique algorithm in your software that delivers top rankings on Google, right? It's the unique combination of nutrients in your grass seed that fulfills the promise of you being able to have a gorgeous green lawn in 5 days or less, right? It's the unique process or methodology or system that you use in your therapy that fulfills on the promise, that delivers the result of somebody leaving behind their fears, right? And so what happens at this stage is because prospects no longer respond to an expanded promise because it's either not true or really because it's just not credible and believable anymore, what happens is savvy marketers introduce a unique mechanism. And as you're going to learn later on, the unique mechanism is what gives your prospects hope. Hope that maybe this time with your product or service, they'll experience the promise, right? That they'll finally experience the transformation, the result, the benefits, the no more pain, etc. So just think of the unique mechanism, if you will, as the unique piece of your product or service that is the engine behind delivering the promise. Now, just like at the first two stages, at the third stage, what can be a unique mechanism today may not necessarily be a unique mechanism in a month or 3 months or a year. For example, let's go back to the fat burning world. So at one point in time, the fat burner that contained Garcinia cambogia hit the market. Right? There was at one point, no fat burning supplements contained Garcinia cambogia. And then the very first fat burner hit the market with Garcinia cambogia. And at the time, the Garcinia cambogia was the unique mechanism in the fat burner, was the reason why that fat burner was presented as the answer to your weight loss needs. Well, at that time, for that first supplement, it was the unique mechanism. It was the reason why the fat burner worked, and no other supplements at the time had Garcinia cambogia in it. And so Garcinia supplements, or the Garcinia supplement, sold like wildfire, right? Well, now if you go to Amazon or you go to Google and you search for Garcinia cambogia, you will see dozens and dozens and dozens of supplements, fat burners, that contain the ingredient Garcinia cambogia. And so what happens is over time, when competitors see that another company or another marketer are having success with a unique mechanism, they come along and they knock off that unique mechanism, right? And then it begins to work less and less, meaning response rates begin to decline. That's when you see prospects evolve to the next stage of the promise exposure spectrum. And this is where we have the promise and the expanded mechanism. The expanded mechanism is the unique mechanism similar to stage two, just expanded. So it is the unique mechanism. Let's take Garcinia cambogia, but now it's expanded. It's pharmaceutical grade Garcinia cambogia. It's freeze-dried Garcinia cambogia. It's Garcinia cambogia from the rainforest. It's Garcinia cambogia along with a digestive enzyme, right? So it's the same promise, right? The primary promise, the thing that the transformation, the result that your market most wants to experience, tied to a mechanism, but the mechanism is no longer unique because other individuals in the market have knocked it off. Now it becomes expanded, right? And so your market is at this stage if your promise and your mechanism has been presented, but it hasn't been expanded on yet. Well, over time, what happens is the expanded mechanism and promise no longer generates the same level of response, and that's when we see prospects evolve to the next stage of the promised exposure spectrum, where marketing messages become all about the prospect. Right? It's all about the prospect. It's no longer about the product. In our case of the fat burner, it's the advertisements, the marketing campaigns are no longer about the supplement, no longer about the Garcinia, no longer about the freeze-dried Garcinia, but are now about the prospects. Meaning, are you sick and tired of taking pills, dieting, exercising, and not losing weight? And so your market is at this stage if your promise and mechanism has been presented already and has already been expanded. Now, one of the questions that I get asked all the time, actually, let me take a step back and say this. So first, your market is in the first stage if your promise has not been made yet. If your promise has not been made yet, you are in stage one. Your market is in stage one of the promise exposure spectrum. Stage two is your promise has been made already, but it hasn't been expanded on by competitors. Stage three, your promise has been expanded already, but has not been presented with your mechanism, right? So if it's not been presented with your mechanism, that means you have a unique mechanism, right? And you'll learn later on how we present your marketing message as promise plus unique mechanism. Stage four is your promise and mechanism has been presented to your prospects, but it hasn't been expanded on yet. And then the fifth stage is your promise and mechanism has already been presented and it's already been expanded on. And that's when we focus on the prospect. And every market, no matter what the product is, goes through this evolution. Because today, a market that is in stage one, in a month from now, or 3 months from now, or 6 months from now, odds are is going to be in stage two, maybe even stage three. And the more saturated your market is, the further to the right your market will fall. Now, the thing to understand is that a stage three marketing message, meaning a marketing message that is designed for stage three, for example, promise and unique mechanism, will still work for stage two and stage one, right? But it will not work for stage 4 or 5. Stage 4 message, promise, and expanded mechanism will still work for a stage 3, stage 2, and stage 1 market. And a marketing message designed around the prospect's experience, right? A stage 5 message will work for every other stage before it. So the question that I get asked all the time is, well, then why wouldn't we just design a message for level 5 for the prospect, right? And not talk about the product, not talk about the mechanism, not talk about the expanded mechanism, etc. Well, the reason is because as you move to the right, when it comes to crafting and creating a marketing funnel message, the further to the right you go, the more difficult it becomes. The easiest message to create, the easiest marketing funnel to create is a stage 1 marketing funnel. Every additional stage adds a level of complexity and difficulty to creating the marketing message. And so that's why we're going to go with the lowest but appropriate level on this promise exposure spectrum, meaning that if your market is at stage 1, we're going to present the promise. That's where we're going to build that funnel because that's an easy funnel to create that works. If your market has already heard your promise and it's already been expanded on, we're going to create a stage 3 message. We're going to create a message that's built on promise and unique mechanism, right? Because it will still be effective for level 2 and level 1. And so this is about identifying where on the promise exposure spectrum your market is relative to the promise that you're going to make and the promises that have already been made by competitors. If you really wanted to boil down the promise exposure spectrum analysis, it's really just about what have competitors already said to your prospects. What have they already said, right? Have they already said the promise? Have they already expanded on the promise? Are they introducing a unique mechanism, right? Like your mechanism, the same mechanism that you have is their mechanism, right? Have they expanded on it? What have they already presented to your market? Now, the last thing that I'm going to share, and we're going to get more into this, like I said, in a later module, in a later lesson, but when you are in the information publishing arena, the stage 3 is one of the easiest messages or easiest funnels to create because we can create out of thin air a unique mechanism. You'll learn the 3 different ways that we create a unique mechanism, like I said, during the engineering stage, but we have the ability to just remain in stage 3 because when you come out with a mechanism and then competitors come along and knock it off, you're not forced to stay with that mechanism and then simply expand it. We can just create a new mechanism out of thin air, right? And so once your unique mechanism gets knocked off, making it no longer a unique mechanism, it's just a common mechanism now, we can then create and engineer a new unique mechanism without having to go on to stage 4. And so I'm going to show you how to do that, like I said, in a later module when we're going through the engineering stage. For now, you need to go to step 3, and that is you need to take out the promise exposure spectrum worksheet and you need to circle the stage that your market is currently in. Again, relative to your promise that you're making, because if you're right, 2 different promises can mean 2 different things on this promise exposure spectrum. This is all about you have a promise that you're making relative to your promise and what other companies, other competitors, other marketers have already presented. Where does your market fall on the promise exposure spectrum? So go ahead, circle the appropriate stage, and then continue on to lesson 5.